I'm gonna send this. Nope, not that tab. Oh, I have too many tabs open right now. Okay. Hello. So today is an exciting day because today is when I do my first ever Just Chatting stream, and specifically it's gonna be a tier list stream. So it's basically just gonna be me rambling on and on for hours. So it's gonna be an interesting stream. We'll see how long I can go for. But I'm theoretically this is gonna be a long stream. So we'll see how it goes. Oh wait, sorry. There's more things I need to set up. I forgot. I forgot to do one more thing. One more thing that I forgot to do. One more thing that I forgot. There. Okay. Need to do that. Okay, so basically the general idea for today's stream is that I'm going to be summarizing each SpongeBob episode, starting, in chronological order. So starting with season 1, and then we're going to make our way from there. And I'm basically going to briefly just talk about what happened in that episode, and then after I'm done summarizing each episode, we're gonna list out some things that you could learn from that episode, hence the educational values, and then we're gonna rank the lessons from that episode on this tier list that I made, which I'll go over in just a second. So that's the general concept. The way I got the idea for this stream actually was that when I was younger, I used to watch SpongeBob a lot, and my aunt actually, she always used to say that SpongeBob was rotting our brains, and that it was very harmful to our development, because I guess she just kind of saw it as a very crude show because of its humor, and that it was just kind of harmful. But today, the idea is that we cast upon judgment and actually see how much that ideal really holds up. We're gonna show that, in fact, you can learn things from SpongeBob, and I'm gonna make a tier list showing which specific episodes I recommend in that specific category. Hi Nathan, welcome to the stream. My grandma said the same thing. Yeah, I feel like it was a common sentiment that I heard from a lot of people during my childhood. Not just my aunt, she's just the person that I remember the most saying it, because she kind of forbid her kids from watching SpongeBob. So we're here to show that there were in fact things that I learned, some of the lessons that I acquired from SpongeBob. So to do that, I created this very nice tier list that I'm gonna rank each episode in. So the top tier, meaning that this is this episode provided the best, most philosophical teachings that you could only dream of learning, that it taught me. So the category is called "The Inner Machinations of My Mind Are an Enigma." Simply just because there's a lot of big words, and it's a reference to a SpongeBob episode. So I thought it really fit our philosophical tier, where we only put the best episodes based on their educational value. Then the tier just below that is Nick Jr. approved. So the meaning behind this tier is basically on the Nickelodeon channel when I was younger. They would always play Nick Jr., which is separate from Nickelodeon in that they only show children's programs, and so this was usually, I would say, before 2 p.m., I think. So any time before 2 p.m. On the Nickelodeon channel, they would only exclusively show Nick Jr. shows. And so before every Nick Jr. show, because it was for younger kids, and they wanted to appeal to parents to show hey, these shows are really good for your kids' development, they would always, before every show, list the educational values that your kid can learn from watching the show. So I remember that the Backyardigans, their only bullet point in this category was imagination, which I always found funny, because apparently the Backyardigans provided no other educational value other than imagination. And I just found that funny, because you would have Dora the Explorer, and it would be number sense and like critical thinking skill. Well, not critical thinking. That's a pretty like big term to use for children. But it will list things like that, like, oh, it will help your kids learn their numbers or learn their ABCs. It will help them, socialize with other children. It would help them learn the values of teamwork and things like that. So they had a bunch of like educational values that they would list out before every Nick Jr. show. And so that's the idea behind the second category, is that these episodes, they would be Nick Jr. approved. The Nick Jr. Channel would be like, yeah, you should watch SpongeBob because it will teach your child how to communicate with other small children. That's the vibes that tier list is giving. Then the third category is the fun category. So, that's obviously a reference to the fun song from SpongeBob. And this is just the average tier, this is just like the middle of the road. Like, oh yeah, okay, I kind of knew that already, but like, it's still a positive thing to learn. So the reason why I put fun there is because, the whole idea of the fun song is just, like hanging out with your friends. And, that's a pretty like, basic educational value that I would list. So that's why it's the average tier. I'm not saying that episode specifically is that tier. Oh yeah, just like some of these tiers are like based off of an episode, but that does not mean that specific episode goes in that tier. I just thought that the catchphrase from that episode matched the tier. So the episode where the fun song premieres may not necessarily go in that tier. I just thought that fun meant, average, and it could be interchangeable. So the fourth tier is called Is Mayonnaise an Instrument? And I put that because that's just the nonsense tier. So it's not like, basically this tier is for episodes where I had to just like make up something. Like truly there was nothing to be learned from this episode. And so, I was just scrounging for something to assign to that episode. And so, the phrase "is mayonnaise an instrument" in itself is nonsense. And so that's why it represents the nonsense tier, This episode was just saying things, there was nothing to it. And then Sailor Mouth, I have as the harmful tier. So this tier is specifically for episodes where there was something to be learned, but I actually kind of deem it as not good for children to learn. That it was actually kind of like a bad episode in terms of like morals and theming. Like you should not follow the examples of the characters in this episode. And then the reason why I named it Sailor Mouth is because I think that's the whole reason my aunt actually didn't like SpongeBob, was because of the Sailor Mouth episode. Because if you don't know, in that episode, the whole like kind of plot is basically SpongeBob and Patrick, they're like taking out the trash one day at the Krusty Krab. I don't know why Patrick was there, but I know SpongeBob, he was just doing his job taking out the trash. And so when he goes out back to take out the trash, he's reading like some of the graffiti on the trash bin, and it's like has a bunch of curse words. Presumably, they like sorry, excuse me. In the episode, they like bleep out like what they're actually saying with like dolphin noises. But I think what you're supposed to gather is that they're cursing. Like there's a bunch of profanity on the trash bin. So I think that's where my aunt got the misconception that SpongeBob was like really crude. I mean, it is a crude show, but I think that was like the final nail in the coffin, because she like took it as them cursing, and it was like, oh no, I don't want my kids to like think cursing is something that's silly and fun and that they should do. So I think that's the general that's like where she got her mindset from. So that's why Sailor Mouth represents that tier. When we actually get to that episode, it might not actually go in the harmful tier. I need to like reassess like what you could actually learn from that episode as a whole, not just the singular scene where they're like cursing in dolphin noises. So we'll see what I give it when we get there. And with that, that's our tiers. If I also just put in like parentheses what that tier represents, because sometimes it's a little unclear from the catchphrases alone what it means. So the top tier is philosophical, meaning that like that episode opened my mind. It expanded my learnings to something that I would not have thought about without SpongeBob's help. The second tier is high educational value, basically meaning like I think this is really important for kids to know, and it's something that, you probably won't know just based off of common sense alone. The third tier is average, meaning that, like, you probably could know this just from common sense and just from living, life in the world. But, it's still a positive thing to know. And then the fourth tier is nonsense, meaning it's literally just, like, the educational value of that episode was literally something I just made up just to have something for that episode, and it doesn't, like, actually mean anything. And then the bottom tier is harmful, meaning that I think that there is something to be learned from that episode, but it's actually, like, really harmful, and you probably shouldn't actually, like, keep that message to heart. And so with that, we have all of our tiers explained, and we can get into ranking the episodes, starting with episode 1. So I actually have the Wikipedia page pulled up here so that I can go through each episode. I'll be able to have, like, the synopsis here just in case I start to blank. But I'm really gonna just try to be summarizing off of my memory alone, which means that there will be fallacies, there will be, like, mistakes in my judgment of, like, what actually happened in that episode. But I think it's more fun that way if I just go based off of my memory, because, it will just show my encyclopedic knowledge of SpongeBob from like 10 years when I watched it. I've watched SpongeBob, like, since then probably, but it's been a hot second now, and, like, it's not like I watched it religiously like I used to as a child, enough to, like, memorize the episode. So this is just truly based off of what I remembered from a kid, and I think that even adds to it, because then it shows that I did learn something from the episode without having to go back. It just kind of stuck with me all these years, So, that would be an added point if I remember things from the episode without necessarily having to read the synopsis word for word. But I do have the Wikipedia pulled up just in case, just so you remember what episode it is. And, like, if I do start blanking, I can just read. But I didn't want to go on the Wikipedia page and just, like, read the summaries, because that would be a little boring. No, we're just going to improv it all the way through, so... Starting with Season 1, Episode 1, we have the pilot episode of SpongeBob, which was called Help Wanted. And so the general gist of this episode is basically SpongeBob is going to get a job at the Krusty Krab. And so, we kind of start with, like, SpongeBob waking up, and, he's getting ready for his big job interview at the Krusty Krab, which is, like, the premier fast food location in Bikini Bottom. And so, what I remember from this episode is that, like, he's, like, really prepared. We see SpongeBob as this, like, really optimistic guy. He's really hardworking, it seems, and really determined. But when he actually gets to his job, like the location of his job interview, it seems like the owner and other employee, being Mr. Krabs and Squidward Tentacles, they do not seem as eager as Mr. SpongeBob SquarePants in hiring him. We really get the idea that Mr. Krabs and Squidward, they just do not like the general vibes of SpongeBob, is what I'm gathering. I don't know if there's a specific reason why they don't want to hire SpongeBob. I just think that, like, they just didn't like his attitude, or I think it was mostly that, Squidward, since he's next door neighbors with SpongeBob, he probably, like, told Mr. Krabs, like, he's too much to handle. Trust me, you do not want to hire him as your fry cook. He's just a lot, and I don't think you could deal with that. So that's kind of what I gathered from, like, why they didn't like SpongeBob. But basically, since they didn't like SpongeBob, like, during the job interview process when they're talking to SpongeBob, they're not really taking him seriously, and they actually try to, like, blow him off. So what they actually end up doing is that Mr. Krabs and Squidward, they send SpongeBob off on, like, a wild goose chase to get, like, this fancy spatula that's called the hydrodynamic spatula or something like that. And so SpongeBob is off on this wild goose chase thinking that if he's able to get this hydrodynamic spatula, he'll be able to, appeal to his future boss and coworker, and that he'll be able to get the job. So he goes off on this wild goose chase for a spatula that Mr. Krabs and Squidward are laughing to themselves about because, they don't think it actually exists. So as soon as he leaves, we actually see, like, a bus full of anchovies just, like, arrive at the Krusty Krab, like, as soon as SpongeBob is, like, off frame. So they, like, there's like hundreds of anchovies, and they're like crowding the Krusty Krab, and they're like demanding like a bunch of Krabby Patties. And Squidward and Mr. Krabs, they just like cannot keep up with the orders because it's like hundreds of anchovies, and there's only two of them. And to be honest, they do not seem to be the most competent of fry cooks, and honestly workers in general. So they're a little overwhelmed, and I think they're even like calling out to SpongeBob to like come back, because I think like he's only like a few like steps down, but like SpongeBob he's pretty tunnel visioned, you know? He has a one-track mind, and he's going off to figure out where to go. But it seems that where's my train of thoughts? So yeah, anyways, it seems that they're not able to handle the orders. So we see the Krusty Krab basically in a bunch of chaos. Mr. Krabs and Squidward, they're like flooded by anchovies quite literally. And SpongeBob is off, and he actually ends up finding the hydrodynamic spatula that he was sent off to fetch. And so he comes back with the spatula, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, trembling in fear from the flood of anchovies, and SpongeBob just kind of like pops off. He kind of girl bosses the whole thing, and he cooks a bunch of Krabby Patties, and he's like serving them one by one. You can even see it in this like frame here. He's like chopping up all of the lettuce and onions and like patty meat, just with this hydrodynamic spatula that, by the way, we never see again. But it went crazy in this episode. So he's able to serve all the customers. Mr. Krabs and Squidward are saved, and actually Mr. Krabs is like so thankful for SpongeBob's help that he ends up hiring him despite Squidward's protests. And so yeah, that's basically the gist of the episode. They also kind of have they end on kind of a running gag at the end, where Patrick walks in and he's asking for, a Krabby Patty, but SpongeBob is still, like, in his, like, machine mode, so he's just sending off a bunch of Krabby Patties at, like, top-notch speed, and it just, like, flies at Patrick, and, we learned that maybe SpongeBob is more of a problem than the anchovies ever were, because he tends to give it 100% all the time, and it seems there is no way to dial him back down, so what can we learn from this episode? I guess we could learn just be good at your job, or like show the best. Always do your best at a job interview, because even if you're like going in at a disadvantage, you may be able to show off your strengths and you might get hired anyways. I feel like that's something you can learn from this episode, actually. You see, you could just make up anything just based off of just based off of a SpongeBob episode. So let's see. This is Help Wanted. So all of these episodes, they're listed based off of alphabetical order. So we just have to look for H, and then Help Wanted. So Help Wanted. So let's see. Let me think about it. So Mr. Krabs learned not to trust Squidward. That's also another thing, Maybe you shouldn't always trust the judgment of others when you're judging someone else, Mr. Krabs learned that you can't just take one person's word for something when making your final judgment on another person. You see, that's another thing you can learn. That's actually really good. I feel like there's a lot of things you can learn. So I'm feeling that this could be either high educational value or philosophical. I kind of want to put it in high educational value because, I don't know. I don't know what's going to go in the philosophical tier, but I feel like it just has to be something that's like just, just really you weren't thinking about. That like you truly would not have known without this episode. And so what we learned from this episode is that, I actually also have a Google Doc that like I was just gonna like write the title of the episode and quickly write down what we discussed would be something to learn. So we learned to always try your best in job interviews, because you can change interviews even if you are going in at a disadvantage, because you can change their mind. Truly always try your best, that's the basic gist of that. And we also learned not to trust other people's judgments on another person without meeting that person for yourself, because I don't know for sure, but I don't know if Mr. Krabs actually knew SpongeBob before this episode. So my guess is that he only knew like about SpongeBob's personality from Squidward, and so he like had him all wrong. He didn't know that he would be such a good employee because he only took Squidward's word from it. So that's another thing you can learn. Always make your own judgments on people that you meet. Don't trust other people necessarily blindly. Okay, so that's episode 1 down. I feel like that was a very long-winded explanation, so maybe I'll try to be a little more to the point as we go on with each episode. But that was the first episode, we're just getting into it. We have to find our groove. So, episode 2 was titled Reef Blower. And so look, I could read this one sentence just to give you general gist. So the general gist of this episode was that SpongeBob attempts to move a shell off of his lawn with a reef blower. So if I remember this episode correctly, it's basically that like SpongeBob and Squidward are just kind of hanging out outside in their yard, and SpongeBob realizes. Oh wait, no, actually it starts with Squidward. So in Squidward's lawn, there's like this little shell, as you can see. There's this little shell, as you can see, and so he doesn't want this like shell, which I can assume in the Bikini Bottom universe is like litter. So Squidward finds a piece of trash in his lawn, and he doesn't want the piece of trash in his lawn, so he kind of like just sweeps it off into SpongeBob's yard. So he's kind of like spreading the trash into his neighbor's yard. And then SpongeBob is also very protective of his lawn. So he brings out his gigantic industrial-sized reef blower, and it just, starts sweeping his lawn. And then it ends up blowing a bunch of sand and also the seashell onto Squidward's lawn again. And, it's just kind of like chaos kind of ensues from there. So I guess what we can learn from this episode is to not be a bad neighbor, because if you're a bad neighbor, you may end up facing the consequences of your actions, because, it kind of goes both ways, because if we really think about it, I feel like SpongeBob was also kind of being a little bit mean, because Squidward just wanted the shell to not be on his lawn. I guess he could have disposed of it properly, but SpongeBob just takes it up a notch and ends up blowing the shell all the way. Well, the shell and an excessive amount of sand, and also puts the reef blower in reverse mode and sucks up a bunch of things into his own lawn, and basically just ruins everything about Squidward's lawn in general. So I feel like I don't know if there's necessarily a hero in this episode, because you don't want to be Squidward, where you're kind of just tossing trash that you found on your lawn into your neighbor's lawn. You should learn to properly dispose of it. But you also don't want to be SpongeBob and just be a general nuisance and cause havoc on your poor neighbor's lawn, and also on your poor neighbor, because you're blowing a bunch of sand at him and just being a lot. So, I would say for reef blower, honestly, it's you can learn to not be a bad neighbor. Don't litter. But I think overall, it's just don't don't be SpongeBob or Squidward, because they kind of just had both of their negative traits in this episode. And so honestly, so let's go find the reef blower episode right here. Not right there, right here, reef blower. And I kind of want to put it in the harmful tier. I feel like we're not gonna get a lot of episodes that I think are harmful, but I think this episode is a good example of what I mean by harmful. The episode as a whole, there's some good things you can take away, but I think what the episode ends up pushing onto an impressionable child is the idea that either that SpongeBob is right, because he's our titular character, but in this episode SpongeBob kind of acts like a jerk, because he just kind of blows a bunch of sand into his neighbor's lawn after his neighbor tosses a shell in his lawn. I mean, like, he didn't make the first move, but I still think it was a little overboard. And so I think we could say it was a little bit rude and harmful of SpongeBob. And that's my ultimate judgment. So I think I will put this episode in the harmful tier already. We already have a harmful episode already, but it's okay. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of good episodes. So the third episode is Tea at the Tree Dome. I don't know why I couldn't say the word tree dome. But the general synopsis of this episode is that SpongeBob meets Sandy and he struggles to breathe in her tree dome. So the general plot of this episode is that SpongeBob meets a new friend in the form of Sandy Cheeks, who's a squirrel, and he's invited over to her house for some tea and cookies, and he's like really excited about it, but he wants to make a good first impression. So he goes to Patrick and he like asks Patrick like, oh, like, you know, how should I like make a good impression on Sandy? And I think the main point of like the main topic of contention for SpongeBob is that, you know, Sandy is a squirrel, so she breathes oxygen. She breathes air. And SpongeBob is a sea creature, so he cannot do that. So he's just really worried about, you know, like fitting in at her house and also like the whole, you know, air aspect of it all, I guess. So he goes to the worst person possible, Patrick, for advice, and he learns nothing, and he ends up going to the tree dome for a tea with Sandy, and he tries to, you know, fit in with her and refuses any water for himself. So he ends up like dehydrating the whole time. And Sandy seems to be concerned about him, but, like, you know, she's just taking his word for it because SpongeBob's like, oh, I'm okay, and, like, they have tea. He, like, does the, like, pinky, when in doubt, pinky out rule, because that's the one thing Patrick taught him, is, like, oh, when you have tea, it's something that's, like, really formal, so you need to have your pinky out at all times. And so there's, like, this whole scene where Sandy's, like, getting cookies and tea for SpongeBob, and as soon as she leaves, SpongeBob is just thinking in his head, and he's just like, I don't need it, as he's like staring at a vase of water, because he does need it, because he's a sea creature, but he's saying to himself, I don't need it, and then he finally breaks and screams, I need it, and then he like pours a bunch of the water onto his head, and Patrick like is like outside of Sandy's house, I guess just like, you know, checking up on his good buddy SpongeBob to see if he's doing okay, and he sees SpongeBob giving in and pouring water on himself, so Patrick breaks into Sandy's home, and it's like, SpongeBob, what are you doing? We gotta get you out of here, you know, you're not being formal. But then, you know, the air also gets to him. As you can see, he exclaims, what kind of place is this? As he's also getting dehydrated, and so Sandy comes back with the tea and cookies and is shocked to see that SpongeBob and Patrick are basically dried up on the floor of her home, basically dying in her own household, which would be a very disturbing thing to come back to if you're just like trying to serve your guest. So I guess what we can learn from this episode is to always be honest with your friends, you know, always be upfront about like your limitations, about like what you I guess it could be kind of an allegory for allergies. That's a bit of a stretch, I'm gonna be honest. That's a little bit of a stretch. But just hear me out here, okay? Like it's kind of like the idea that, like, let's say I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Basically, what I'm saying, it's like, you know, SpongeBob had an allergy, being that, you know, he can't breathe air, but he pretended like he was okay, and so Sandy, being a gracious host, like, just kind of went along with it and, like, didn't know that she needed to specially prepare for her guests. So, and, like, SpongeBob suffered the consequences because he didn't properly communicate his needs and desires. So, you know, that's a pretty important lesson to learn, you know, like, always communicate what you need, even if, like, even if it's something embarrassing, I guess, or something that, like, makes you different from the person that you're trying to befriend, you know, like, you should just always be honest with people, even if, like, if you're just meeting them for the first time, you know, you shouldn't have to, like, always stoop to their level or always be what you think they want you to be. You see, educational values, let's go. So this third episode was Tea at the Tree Dome, and what we learned is to always be honest with your with your needs. Don't worry too much about your first impression with a new friend. Just be yourself. Look. How educational, how thoughtful of SpongeBob to teach us these values. So where's Tree at the T though? It's gonna be all the way down here. T episode. T at the tree dome. T at the I'm blind. T E. This is the. So it's gonna be up here. Here. T at the tree dome. So honestly, I'm thinking it's either between fun or Nick Jr. approved. I kind of want to go for Nick Jr. approved because I feel like this is something that you actually would want your kids to learn. Because like I feel like when they're just getting into socializing with new kids for the first time, they like may easily feel pressured to, you know, like blend in. But you shouldn't be afraid to, you know, communicate effectively with your new friends and just to be yourself. You see, Nick Jr. approved message here. And then also, even from, like, the Sandy aspect, like, as soon as, like, she saw her friend struggling, when she saw, like, SpongeBob and Patrick, like, dehydrating on the floor for household, she immediately provided water with them. So, you know, this is, it's like, you could be very, just be a very gracious host no matter what. Just realized that episode list is huge. How many seasons are you doing? So, technically, the max... Okay, so, I don't know how many seasons SpongeBob is at right now, but I've watched 9 seasons of SpongeBob. I'm not saying we're gonna get to all 9 seasons today. I'm just saying that, like, that's as far as I'll be able to go in general. But the actual limit for the stream will just be, like, I don't know, when my voice gives out, I guess. Because I'm, like, just talking so much. Oh, hi! I always try to mess up how to say your name. Weebus Extremis, welcome to the stream. It's nice to see you back again after Project Sekai. So Lo, my sister, has the entirety of Reef Blower saved on her phone as a GIF. Yeah, no, it's a hilarious episode, but we're just judging it strictly based off of their educational values. And what we learned from Reef Blower is that it's just about like being a bad neighbor, and honestly I just thought it was harmful for our children, so that's why it's listed as harmful. But I do love that episode. I have the whole movie saved. That's actually iconic. I love the SpongeBob movie. It was such a fun movie. I won't be judging the movie today, but maybe I might do a stream about the SpongeBob movie one of these days, because that's a precious childhood movie for me. But yeah, so I don't actually have a limit on, I don't know how many episodes I'm going to actually be doing today. I'm just going to be talking, and we'll see when I give out. So that's 3 episodes done, though, and we're able to move on to the 4th episode, which is labeled Bubble Stand. So the general gist of this episode is that SpongeBob starts a bubble stand, you know, straight to the point. So a brief synopsis of this episode seems to be that, you know, SpongeBob starts a bubble stand, his best friend Patrick joins them, and, you know, they're just having, like, basically a bunch of fun, just blowing out bubbles out in the yard, and Squidward is a little bit annoyed by this, because somehow, even though they're just, like, what am I trying to say? Even though they're just blowing bubbles, like, you know, outside in the front yard, you know, like, no harm, no foul, it's very disturbing to Squidward, who's just, you know, trying to practice playing his clarinet. So we kind of just see chaos ensue as SpongeBob is trying to teach Patrick how to blow bubbles, and, like, the bubbles end up, like, causing a bunch of ruckus for Squidward, because, like, in one scene, SpongeBob blows a bubble of a giant elephant, and it, like, explodes and, like, makes a large elephant noise, and then, like, you know, you can see in this bottom frame down here that a giant bubble encapsulates Squidward's house and ends up floating him to the surface. So, you know, just very tragic. This episode is just SpongeBob and Patrick indirectly harming Squidward. Oh, okay, well, I was just stopping in to say hello, so hello and goodbye. Okay, well, thank you for stopping by. Hello, it was nice to see you again. It's been a hot second, so thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Have a fun day, whatever you're doing, whatever you're up to. Or a good night. I don't know what time it is. I shouldn't assume. So have a good day, have a good night, whatever time it is for you. Bye. So yeah, so for this episode, though, I'm not too sure the educational value. This episode is an iconic episode, don't get me wrong. Like, all the scenes where, like, they're blowing the bubbles, and, like, SpongeBob is, like, trying to show Patrick how to blow a bubble. And he's like, okay, so you have to grasp your bubble wand with both of your hands, and then you have to like blow it at like a specific angle, and then you have to like take three steps, look back. I wonder if they actually have the exact quote for the technique here. It doesn't appear that they have a direct quote for what he says. Well, what I'm trying to say is that basically SpongeBob was teaching Patrick how to blow a bubble, and he had like very specific instructions. And I remember as a kid that like I actually try to like follow SpongeBob's technique for blowing a bubble, because like I knew it wasn't gonna actually work, but I still wanted to like mimic like what I saw in the episode. So it was basically like you had to like take 3 steps, stand on 1 foot, don't forget it, and then you have to bring it around town, and then you do like a bunch of like random moves before you actually like blow into your bubble wand stick. So I remember that was like a big part of the episode that I remembered, aside from the giant elephant that SpongeBob ends up blowing, and like Patrick exclaims, "It's a giraffe." I also remember that quote. That quote was also very funny. But like when we go to actual educational value, because this is a serious stream where we're only trying to get the most educational values for our children. Okay, this is the pitch for my aunt. So would I recommend this episode to her to show to her children? Not really, because yeah, like you said, I think this episode is too goofy to be educational. At the very least, I guess it does teach kids to exercise. And you know what that's giving me? Wait, let's see, where is it? Bubble stand, so that'll be B. It's giving me, why am I having, I'm blind. Where is it? Is it just called bubble stand, or is it called like the bubble stand or something like that? No, it's bubble stand. So that's right here. Okay, I'm just blind. My bad. I think it could... Yes, I'm just blind. My bad. I think it goes into is mayonnaise an instrument. It's just kind of nonsense, It's just goofy, like, yeah, there's, like, things you can, like, stretch as a theme. Like, teaches you exercise, teaches you how to, like, blow a bubble, things like that. But it's really just, like, goofy. It's really just for fun. Nothing that... you can actually learn from it. And I don't think it's, like, harmful. Like, there is a case for saying, like, it's like Reef Blower, and, like, it's showing, like, SpongeBob and Patrick being bad neighbors to Squidward because they're disrupting him. But I don't think that it was as direct as Reef Blower. Like, with the bubble stand, there was enough moments of just, like, Patrick and SpongeBob just having fun where, like, I don't think that would be, like, my main takeaway. Unlike Reef Blower, where it was just, like, chaos for Squidward and SpongeBob, like, 24/7. So, like, that's kind of the difference between, like, the nonsense and harmful tier. Where, like, I feel like the biggest gist of bubble stand is just, like, it's just fun. But Reef Blower, I could see my aunt being like, how dare you show that to my child? That's kind of what I'm getting. So, let's see. Bubble stand, it's just kind of like, nonsense. It's just kind of like too I spelled goofy wrong. Too goofy of an episode to learn anything, really. Every lesson is more of a stretch. So yeah, that's my final verdict of Bubble Stand. So with that, we get into our next episode, which will be Ripped Pants. Wait, Ripped Pants was this? Oh my gosh. I thought Ripped Pants was like a season 2 episode, because like they had like a whole musical number, and like it brings you to like a whole another location, because... Sorry, I had to take a drink. If you think about like the episodes thus far, you don't, I felt like there weren't, like, too many characters. Like, it was mostly just, like, SpongeBob, sometimes Patrick, sometimes Squidward, sometimes Mr. Krabs, sometimes Sandy, like, SpongeBob and, like, maybe 1 or 2 new characters. But what's, blah, 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 blah. Okay, calm down. Okay, but with Ripped Pants, this was, like, the first time that we really saw a lot of the fellow citizens of Bikini Bottom. Like, just, like, look at, like, all these people. There's just, like, there's so many people that you run into in this episode that it very much gave, like, late season 1, maybe even season 2 vibes. But this is, like, This is in the second episode ever of SpongeBob SquarePants, which I find very surprising because, like, this is an iconic episode, Ripped Pants. So, anyways, the short description of it is SpongeBob jokes about ripping his pants. So, Nathan is saying, oh, this is very educational. I think the lesson is very in your face. Yes, I agree. So, just as a brief synopsis, basically what happens is that SpongeBob is hanging out with his new friend Sandy at the beach, and they run into Larry the Lobster. And Larry is just this, like, very jacked, very buff lobster guy. And, you know, Sandy and Larry, they both like to work out. They both like to lift weights. So, you know, they have that in common, and they're kind of just talking. And as a result, SpongeBob is kind of getting, like, left behind. And, like, Sandy doesn't seem to be, like, spending as much time with SpongeBob at the beach necessarily because she found another friend to talk about things with. So SpongeBob, like, initially tries to fit in, like, with their whole common interests of lifting weights. But SpongeBob isn't the strongest person, and we get this comedic bit where, like, he tries to lift 2 marshmallows on a single branch, but it doesn't work out because he is not a strong boy. So as a result, when he's, like, trying to lift up this stick with marshmallows, SpongeBob actually ends up ripping his pants, and this actually causes a lot of people, like, at the beach to, like, laugh out loud because of, like, how funny it is. And so SpongeBob, thinking that he's onto something, he keeps trying to rip his pants at the beach when around other people to get them to laugh at him, or in his head, I guess, laugh with him because, you know, it's giving him a lot of attention. And so, you know, SpongeBob really lets it get to him because he's, like, constantly doing it. And this causes the people at the beach to eventually get annoyed because, like, you know, a joke is amusing, like, the first few times, but if you kind of like try to repeat it multiple times, it gets boring. So they get tired of it, and SpongeBob starts to realize this because eventually he went from only being friends with Sandy, trying to fit in, failing, then getting the whole beach to be laughing along with him and being his friends, to basically being alone again because they all moved on. And so SpongeBob holds this iconic concert where he sings the song Ripped Pants. It's an amazing song, 10 out of 10, love it. And he also runs into a bunch of quote-unquote losers at the beach who also had things that, like, you know, made them stick out, but they eventually were cast aside because they were deemed as outcasts. So he runs into this, I remember he runs into this female fish that, like, gets sunburned really easily. He runs into this person that, like, always eats at the beach, but all of their food is, like, soggy or sandy because, you know, they're eating at the beach. And then there's this other guy, but I forgot what his deal was. What his deal was, I forgot. It's, like, kind of blanking on that. But anyways, he starts this band with a bunch of misfits. This gets the attention of Sandy finally. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry that, like, you know, I was kind of ignoring you. Like, if you wanted my attention, you should have just, like, you know, said so. Like, I'm hanging out with Larry because, you know, we have something we can bond over. But, like, if I'm, like, not giving you the attention that you want, you know, we can, like, you know, figure out a time where it's, like, specifically just us hanging out. And, like, also it seems SpongeBob wins the admiration of Larry the Lobster because Larry asked for his autograph. So there's a lot to unpack with this episode, actually. We'll see what I actually get it, but I think there's a case for it. We'll see. Okay, so let's see what you're saying though, Nathan. He was left alone because he took it too far and let people think he died. Oh my gosh, you're right. I forgot about that one. And then sand in his buns, yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Okay, yeah, so that was the thing. So that's where people lost interest. I mean, I think they were already getting annoyed with the ripped pants joke, but you're right, because SpongeBob was realizing that he wasn't getting as much attention, so he caused this big scene where at the big surfboarding contest, he pretends to wipe out, and he pretends that, like, he started to die. And then he makes, like, the joke again. Like, he's, like, pretending to die. I remember because Sandy also goes up to him, I think, and she's like, oh my gosh, Sandy, what's happening? Or Sandy goes up to SpongeBob, and it's like, oh my gosh, SpongeBob, are you okay? And then SpongeBob, like, makes the joke about, like, the ripped pants again. And then so she's disgusted, everyone else on the beach is disgusted, and he's left alone. You're right, that's what happened. So, what can we learn from this episode? I think we could learn a lot, actually. Honestly, I know that it's, like, very direct, But I think if you really think about it, there's a lot of connections you can make with these lessons to like real life things. So, very like surface level lessons you can learn is like, don't take a joke too far, don't pretend to fake your death, don't like be so like attention seeking, like just do things, like be yourself, just do things for yourself. It's okay to joke around, but don't take it too far. Communicate your feelings to your friends. Like if you're feeling left out, you should tell them that. And like discuss your issues. Oh yeah, see, here's the song. Now I learned a lesson I won't soon forget. So listen and you won't regret. Be true to yourself, don't miss your chance. And you won't end up like the fool who ripped his pants. Ba-dum-pyum. I still remember that after all these years. Yeah, no, this is like, I think this is a really strong episode, actually. And so that's why I'm kind of tempted to put it in philosophical. Like, I know, like, all the lessons we're learning from it is, like, not necessarily, like, the most complex of lessons, like, be true to yourself, that's not really, like, that deep. Don't miss your chance, like, when you're hanging out with a friend and, like, when you have the opportunity to, like, connect with someone, don't miss that chance. And, like, just also learning from your mistakes. I feel like those are, like, all very surface level. Very surface level. Sorry, there's just a lot of me. Blah, blah. There's just, my throat is getting a little dry, actually. But yeah, I feel like there's, like, a lot of surface level lessons that you can learn from this episode. But altogether, I think it's, like, a really strong study into, like, what's quote-unquote, like, fame, I guess. Because I'm kind of stretching a little bit. But, like, kind of, like, comparing, like, getting very popular off of a joke to, like, fame. I feel like that's a connection you can kind of make. So, it's, like, also kind of, like, don't, like, let fame get to your head, be true to yourself. So, like, I feel like there's, like, a lot of things you can connect to the idea of being true to yourself. So even though it's, like, a very surface level lesson, I feel like it just applies so well to so many scenarios, and it's, like, something that you constantly have to learn, because a lot of people will tell you, like, oh yeah, I know to just be myself, but it's a really hard thing to actually, like, apply to your everyday life. So yeah, I'm kind of tempted to put it in philosophical. Also, just because, like, I don't know what philosophical may even look like at this point if this episode doesn't fit that category. Because I just feel like it's just such a strong... Like, I genuinely think that, like, if I showed this episode to my aunt, she would be like, well, I think she would still have some concerns, but I definitely think it's a strong episode, though, just in general. And then yeah, I just copy and pasted the song lyrics as the lesson, because I think just these lyrics alone tell you what you need to know from this lesson. So yeah, I think I'll put it in philosophical. If we get to other episodes and we realize, like, oh, this episode has a little bit, well, wait, what am I trying to say? When we get to future episodes, if we learn that there's other episodes that actually do have philosophical lessons that we would not have thought of before, then we can move Ripped Pants down a tier. But so far, I think Ripped Pants is, like, a very good example of, like, oh, this is, like, something that's really important that, like, you would actually want to teach your child. And so that earns it the top spot. So where is R? R would be right here, yeah. So yeah, putting it at the top tier. Congratulations, Ripped Pants, for being the first episode to be in the inner machinations of my mind or in an enigma tier. Okay, so with that, we move on to the 5th episode, question mark. What episode is this? 6th episode. The 6th episode, okay. The 6th episode is jellyfishing. So in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick take Squidward jellyfishing. The general gist of this episode is basically SpongeBob and Patrick, they have the hobby of jellyfishing, which is basically, I guess, kind of like the equivalent of fishing in Bikini Bottom. And so they really enjoy this activity, this hobby of theirs, so much so that they want to share it with their friend Squidward. Unfortunately, everything that SpongeBob and Patrick do with Squidward only ends in chaos, so Squidward ends up getting very injured from SpongeBob and Patrick, just trying to go jellyfishing. I think what happens is they're like jellyfishing and they like accidentally like knock Squidward off the road with something, and then like he falls into jellyfishing fields. And Squidward gets like shocked by a bunch of jellyfish. So I think that's how he ends up in this full body cast, if I remember correctly. But anyways, the rest of the episode is basically SpongeBob and Patrick trying to take care of Squidward, but they fail dramatically. Like, I remember they try to give him alphabet soup, but they end up spilling it all over him, and it's like piping hot soup, and like it kind of burns him and all of that. And also, I remember that Patrick and SpongeBob like also try to teach Squidward how to go jellyfishing, and they have that whole iconic scene of Patrick being like, firmly grasp it, and when Squidward can't grasp the fishing net, the jellyfishing net, because he's in a full body cast and can't grip anything, Patrick like slams the net into his fist and like punctures a hole in his hand, which is very scary. Don't mess with Patrick. Terrifying boy. And then, they go jellyfishing, and they end up just hurting Squidward more. And I think throughout the episode, like, Squidward is, like, very, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Very grumpy towards SpongeBob and Patrick, for good reason, because technically they're the ones that got him injured in the first place, and also they're very bad at taking care of him. So with this episode, I feel like I kind of want to put it in the harmful tier, because the only argument that I could see from this episode for educational value would be like, it teaches your kid to try to share their hobbies with other kids, and it also teaches them to try to take care of their fellow friends or neighbors when they're sick. But like, I feel like the main takeaway that you will end up getting from this episode, because the only thing I'm remembering is like basically all the things they put poor Squidward through. Like when they got him shocked, when they got him in a full body cast, when they spilled soup over him, when Patrick punctured a hole in his hand because they try to make him go jellyfishing when he's in a full body cast. And then at the end, when poor Squidward gets like completely shocked by a gigantic jellyfish, it just feels like the main takeaway would be more harmful than like anything necessarily good or even nonsensical. So I feel like I have to give jellyfishing the harmful tier, which is a little unfortunate, but I think with most episodes where the focus is just SpongeBob and Patrick being like menaces to Squidward, it's just gonna end up being in the harmful tier, because it's just really hard to make a case for those episodes, educational value-wise. Entertainment value-wise, that's a whole nother argument, but I could definitely see how if I showed this episode to like a very concerned parents, like my aunt, she would not like it. She would be like, why are they torturing their poor neighbor? So unfortunately, we're gonna have to put it in the harmful tier. So we're gonna put jellyfishing, and for this we're just gonna say that Patrick and SpongeBob are being bad neighbors to Squidward for a majority of the episode. So it overshadows any positive lessons to be learned, like taking care of your sick friends. Yeah, it kind of just gets overshadowed. Any positive trait gets overshadowed, unfortunately. So with that, we go into our next episode, episode 7, and it's titled Plankton. This is the premiere episode for our main antagonist of the SpongeBob universe, Plankton. How exciting. And so, in this episode, SpongeBob is introduced to Mr. Krabs' business rival, Plankton. So the general synopsis for this episode is just as it says. Squidward and SpongeBob are like working really late at the Krusty Krab one night, and they get an order basically to serve a Krabby Patty, and it turns out that it's actually a big scheme on Plankton's part to steal a Krabby Patty and basically analyze it for himself. So SpongeBob is like very naive because he doesn't really know who Plankton is. So he almost gives him a Krabby Patty, but then Mr. Krabs stops him and is like, "Me boy, stop. This is like my arch nemesis." Sorry for that horrible Mr. Krabs impression. I apologize. But basically, Mr. Krabs explains to SpongeBob that Plankton is his arch nemesis, and so he can't be trusted, and that he should never get a Krabby Patty because he's like also a mad scientist. So if he even just got a hold of a singular Krabby Patty, he would be able to analyze it and get the secret Krabby Patty formula, and then like drive him out of business. So SpongeBob like takes this to heart, remembers that he shouldn't trust Plankton, and they're closing up for the night, and SpongeBob says goodbye to Mr. Krabs, but Plankton ends up stopping SpongeBob on his way home and asks him about like being his fry cook. Let me read, actually. I'm a little bit blanking on what happens. So SpongeBob says goodbye to Mr. Krabs and leaves. On his way home, Plankton stops SpongeBob and tries to convince him that he and the fry cook are somehow friends, and that as such, SpongeBob should come to Plankton's birthday party. Okay, so I see what happens. So basically what ends up happening is that Plankton uses SpongeBob's good nature to basically try to convince him to go to his quote-unquote birthday party. I don't think it was actually Plankton's birthday. And give him a gift. So, I know there's a little back and forth, but Plankton basically asks SpongeBob to get him a Krabby Patty for his birthday. But SpongeBob doesn't like fall for it because, you know, he remembers. He's a good employee, SpongeBob. He knows, like, Mr. Krabs, his boss, told him not to trust Plankton, so he doesn't. But what Plankton actually ends up doing is he ends up taking control of SpongeBob's brain when he's sleeping. Like, he follows SpongeBob's home. He like puts like a remote control device in his brain, and he controls SpongeBob to like get a Krabby Patty from the Krusty Krab and deliver it to Plankton so that he can put it in his little machine and then analyze it and figure out what the secret Krabby Patty formula is. And yeah, so they do that. There's like a bunch of shenanigans. I think my favorite scene from this episode is when he barges in to Squidward's house, like after his like brain is being mind controlled. So he is not in control of his body, and sometimes he like flashes in and out of consciousness. Like sometimes he's in control of his like mouth and he's able to speak for himself, but also sometimes Plankton ends up speaking for SpongeBob. So in this scene, SpongeBob like bursts into Squidward's home and wakes him up because it's the middle of the night. And then like Squidward's like, "What are you doing, SpongeBob?" And then SpongeBob like calls him like a mediocre clarinet player and like a bunch of like things like that. It's a very funny quote. I love it. And so I think and then, you know, more chaos insists, and basically at the end of the episode, SpongeBob is able to break free from the mind control, and Plankton ends up falling into the machine, and he gets analyzed, and I think it's like he's 50% evil and 50% hot gas. So there's all of that, things that happens, but the Krusty Krab is saved, the secret Krabby Patty formula is not revealed, and SpongeBob sticks strong to his duties as the fry cook of the Krusty Krab. So, what can we learn from this episode? I guess we can learn, don't trust rival businessmen of your company. Stick to your morals. Stick strong to your morals. Stealing is bad from Plankton's angle, I guess. I don't think there's much to say about this one, honestly. Like, I think it could go in average, but it could also just go into nonsense because there really isn't anything. Like, I'm trying to think of something I could say that you could learn from this episode that, like, is kind of reasonable. Like, I don't think well, it is kind of goofy. I was like, is it like similar to Bubble Stand where it's like too goofy to like even be like to have anything that I would say is quote unquote average? I think it might almost be like Bubble Stand where it's like just too goofy for me to argue for any case that it would provide any educational value. So I think I'll put it in nonsense tier. So P for plankton. Plankton is gonna be here. Plankton. Okay. Yeah, I'll put it in the nonsense tier. I kind of want to put it in the average tier because we don't have anything in the average tier, but I think it does fall into the nonsense tier just because like I don't know what I would even argue for the like lesson to be. Like plankton is just like I don't know, follow your boss's orders. Don't trust evil people. Stick to your morals. I don't know. It's just like a bunch of nonsense. It's just like, it's like Bubble Stand where it's like just too goofy for anything, anything to really argue there. So, excuse me. So that brings us to our next episode, and this episode is titled Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Really love the alliteration here. Naughty Nautical Neighbors. And so, in this episode, Squidward destroys SpongeBob and Patrick's friendship. Oh, that's what this episode was? I totally forgot what this episode was based off of the title alone, but I remember. I don't remember, like, some of these synopsises are going to be, like, very short and to the point because I truly don't remember too much of the episode. And also, you know, we can't spend too much time on, like, one singular episode. But basically, I remember the general gist is that, like, Squidward realizes that Patrick and SpongeBob are, like, the biggest nuisance in his life. And so, if he wants to get rid of them, like, get rid of like all of the annoyance they cause, he should cause them to like just not be friends anymore. And so like if they're not friends, they won't like always be together and they won't be able to bother Squidward because it's kind of like a thing where like when alone SpongeBob and Patrick, yes, they are annoying, but they're not nearly as annoying as when they're together. So Squidward's whole plan is to basically separate them, and I forget how he does. I think what happens is just like Patrick and SpongeBob are basically just fighting for Squidward's attention for some reason. I don't know why necessarily they're wait, how does he Oh, okay, I remember now. I read that. I had to read the synopsis. Squidward ends up getting SpongeBob and Patrick to fight because he like sends messages in a bubble back and forth between them that like causes a whole misunderstanding. And so as a result, SpongeBob and Patrick separately try to make Squidward their new best friend. And I remember there's like this one scene where they like give Squidward, or Patrick gives Squidward CPR because he's choking on a fork, and then also. And then so Patrick saves him, and so Squidward's like, oh my gosh, maybe I can be friends with Patrick. And so he like tries to play the clarinet for him, but then Patrick falls asleep, and we get that like iconic scene where Squidward's like, and now I shall perform Solitude in E minor. And then Patrick's like, ooh, E minor, E minor. And then he falls asleep instantly. But yeah, so there's like a bull back and forth of them trying to be friends with Squidward and it not working. And then Squidward just gets annoyed at SpongeBob and Patrick's individual attempts to befriend him, so much so that he decides to make them become friends again. So he invites them over for like a little dinner party, but they're still mad at them, and like there's a little bit more bickering, but eventually I forget how, but they become friends again, and Squidward once again is annoyed by them, but I guess he's okay. Well, I guess technically Squidward learns this lesson not to drive apart Patrick and SpongeBob because it only means more problems for him. And then also at the end, he still gets annoyed. So, you know. No matter what, it was doomed for Squidward from the get-go. So, What would I rank this episode? Like I kind of want to say, like I could see how it could be harmful because, like, like I said, it's another one of those episodes where it's just like, constant like back and forth. Oh man, they're really like bullying Squidward by being annoying. But like I also feel like the main takeaway that I'm taking from it is that, like, you shouldn't try to drive apart people's friends. Like, yes, but Squidward gets punished again in this episode, but it's like almost kind of even rightfully so. Like, I get like SpongeBob and Patrick can be really annoying, but it was his fault for like it was his what am I trying to say? Like, it was wrong. That's what I'm trying to say. It was wrong of Squidward to try to draw a wedge in between Patrick and SpongeBob, especially by starting a miscommunication thing between them. So I wouldn't say like it's completely deserved, but it definitely, there's more basis for Squidward being punished in the narrative compared to Reef Blower and Jellyfish, where he was just kind of minding his own business. So I almost kind of want to just put it in average, where it's like, you can learn to not be a bad neighbor and to not try to drive a wedge in between friends. And that's about it. Like, I wouldn't want to, like, this would not be Nick Jr. approved. This isn't for the children. It's not philosophical. It's not nonsense. Like, I think there's definitely something you can grasp onto here. And there is an argument for it to be harmful, but I'll be a little bit generous to this one. So, what's this episode titled? Naughty Nautical Neighbors? Yes, so Naughty Nautical Neighbors, you will be going into the average tier for your educational values. Where is it? I'm bad at reading. Here we go. Average tier. And let's update our tier list. So nautical, wait, it's Naughty Nautical Neighbors? Yeah, Naughty Nautical Neighbors. Naughty Nautical, the alliteration, like try saying that 5 times fast. Naughty I failed before I even started. Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Naughty Nautical Neighbors, blah. Ugh, tongue twister. Anyways, you can learn to not be a bad neighbor and not drive a wedge between friends for your own gain. There is an argument for it being harmful, though. I will say there is a case for it, though, so I'll put that little disclaimer, but I don't think it's too bad, to be honest. So, yeah, fun average tier. Next episode is Boating School, where we finally get introduced to Mrs. Puff's character and the running gag of SpongeBob being a terrible boat driver. A running gag that I'm pretty sure still runs today, so let's see. In this episode, Patrick attempts to help SpongeBob pass his driving exam. So, what can we learn from this episode? Okay, so a general synopsis is we open up with SpongeBob learning how to drive a boat, which is like, regular driving in the human world, but for fish in the Bikini Bottom SpongeBob universe. So SpongeBob's learning how to drive a boat from Mrs. Puff, who's his boating school teacher. And he's failing. So he like crashes into this like giant what's this called? It's the thing that sailors use. Lighthouse. He crashes into this giant lighthouse. And then this causes Mrs. Puff a lot of stress, so much so that she like she puffs up. I guess that's how you would describe it. Yeah, she puffs up. And I remember from this episode, like SpongeBob crashes and fails again, and then Mrs. Puff in a very low voice is just like, "Oh, SpongeBob, why? So basically, SpongeBob is very guilty about being a very bad driver, and so he wants to pass on the next test, because he doesn't want to bother Mrs. Puff anymore, and he just wants his boating license. So he goes to his good friend Patrick for help, and they kind of like cheat on the test, where like Patrick is like talking in like a walkie-talkie to SpongeBob and giving him advice on how to drive. And what we learn about SpongeBob is that he seems to actually be a good driver. It's just that, like, when he's actually taking a test, he, like, freezes up and he, like, makes a lot of silly mistakes that he wouldn't normally do. Because when Patrick, like, is telling him, is guiding him during the test, he actually follows, like, in perfect succession and is, like, able to get by. So, how does it end, though? Let me see, how does it this wiki is going everywhere. So, Mrs. Puff is floored by SpongeBob's sudden improvement and jokingly suggests that his success is due to an antenna under his hat through which some guy miles away from here is giving him all the answers. Oh, okay, I remember. So Mrs. Puff is like really impressed that SpongeBob is driving so well. And she's like, oh man, you must have like some antenna, some guy giving you all the answers underneath that hat of yours. Because like SpongeBob is wearing a hat to disguise the antenna of the walkie-talkie that he has in his like brain, I guess. And so, SpongeBob, like, falls to the pressure or guilt of cheating. And he's like, I'm cheating, Mrs. Puff. I do have an antenna underneath this hat. And there is a guy some miles away from here giving me all the answers. I'm a cheater. And then Mrs. Puff, in a panic, is, like, trying to get SpongeBob back on the road. But, like, SpongeBob has, like, completely lost it. He's, like, completely guilty over the fact that he's cheating. And so he ends up failing the test because he crashes despite Mrs. Puff trying to basically cheat for him as well, because she realizes that if she's able to just get SpongeBob to pass this test, even if he is cheating, she would be able to get rid of SpongeBob out of her boating school for the rest of her life. But he fails, and SpongeBob has to continue to go to boating school despite Mrs. Puff's best efforts. So, what can we learn from this episode? I guess we can learn, don't cheat. You know, always try your best, but don't cheat. And just to keep at things. And then for Mrs. Puff, it's just, I guess what we can learn from Mrs. Puff is just to not be a teacher. Poor Mrs. Puff. She does not deserve all the troubles she's gone through. But yeah, so I think for this episode, I think it's actually pretty straightforward. I think it's a pretty average episode. I don't think... So yeah, it's obviously not the upper tiers. It's not anything profound. Nothing I would like really write home to. Like, I feel like not cheating is a good message, but I don't think it's presented in as strong as a way as like Help Wanted or Tea at the Tree Dome really presented its messages. So I wouldn't say it's like Nick Jr. approved tier, but I would say it's average tier because it's not a nonsense theme. Like, I definitely think the theme of like not cheating can be argued there, because as soon as SpongeBob realizes that he's a cheater, that he's cheating, he goes off the rails, he fails, SpongeBob feels guilty, Patrick feels guilty, and he's punished for his actions. So I definitely think that theme is there, so I don't think it's nonsense, and I wouldn't say it's harmful, just because, like, yeah, there's, like, some, there's some argument for, like, SpongeBob just being a menace to society, specifically Mrs. Puff in this episode. But if we gave every episode where SpongeBob was being a menace to society in the harmful tier, there would be no good episode. So we're going to put boating school in average. And boating school, we shall say, well, how do I want to describe it? No, don't cheat. Yeah, that's what I said the last one was. Don't cheat, be honest. Always try your best. Yeah, sure. Also, don't be a teacher. That's an important lesson to learn as well. Don't be a teacher. just don't. So the next episode is Pizza Delivery, which another surprising episode. I didn't expect this episode to be so soon in SpongeBob, because this is only what episode are we on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the 10th episode. Lucky number 10. I feel like this was like a late season 1 episode, but I guess it wasn't that late. Because of just how iconic it is, and like I feel like there's just so many like funny bits from this, and like so many like scenery changes that it doesn't feel like an early season 1 episode. Because I feel like early season 1 episodes were like kind of minimalistic. But maybe that's just my negative presumptions and not actually grounded in facts. So, anyways, the general gist of this episode is that SpongeBob and Squidward deliver a pizza. And a very brief synopsis, because this synopsis goes very in detail, because there's a lot of like running gags that it's trying to like explain, because this is a very funny episode. I'm pretty sure this probably is like one of my favorite episodes too, or it's a lot of people's favorite episodes just because of how goofy it is. But the general gist is basically, like it says, SpongeBob and Squidward, they're sent by Mr. Krabs to send a official Krusty Krab pizza to a customer who ordered it. So before, they didn't do deliveries, and also I don't think they did pizzas, but you know, Mr. Krabs cannot give up the chance of, you know, making a little extra dough. So sorry, I just realized I made a pun without realizing it. That was did you get it? Do you get it? He wanted to make extra dough, and they're delivering a pizza. I'm pausing for you to laugh. I know, I'm funny. I get it. Anyways, so they go out to deliver the pizza, and then just chaos basically ensues. The boat that they're driving, Squidward lets SpongeBob drive, which was just a mistake to begin with. So they run out of gas, so they have to go on foot. They try to hitchhike, but that fails. They get caught up in a tornado, and then eventually they end up finding a rock, and SpongeBob is able to drive the rock, and they are able to deliver the pizza. Very, very funny, but very to the point episode. I think what we technically could learn is to never give up, because there is that whole dichotomy between SpongeBob and Squidward, where towards the end of their journey, Squidward's like, we should just go home, SpongeBob, it's not worth it. And then SpongeBob is like, no, we must always, like, you know, give the best service to our customers. You know, we have a job. We were given a job to do. We have to complete it. And so, you know, he's like very headstrong, very determined in this episode. And then at the end, we have that bit where the customer is like, I ordered a drink. And then SpongeBob is like, there's no drink on your receipt. And then the customer like complains back to SpongeBob, being like, I ordered a drink, where's my drink? And then he's like very mad at SpongeBob and won't give him the money. So then Squidward asserts himself and like throws the pizza in the customer's face and like gets the money. And yeah, just a lot of things. So honestly, I kind of want to put it, before like going over that whole scene at the end, I kind of just wanted to put it at average, because you know, try your best at your job, or like, you know, always finish a task. That's a pretty average lesson, I would say. But I do like the dynamic of where Squidward stands up for SpongeBob, where it's like Squidward saw all the hard work that SpongeBob put into completing the job, that he didn't want it to go underappreciated, even when there's like that philosophy, you know, that the customer is always right. But in this case, like, Squidward saw the customer just being completely rude and like, you know, taking advantage of a service worker, and so he like he stood up for SpongeBob and for his own rights, honestly, and he was able to like get the money that he deserved. So there's honestly kind of like a little aspect of like showing the struggles of a service worker, that when I phrase it like that, that could be pretty philosophical, you know, depicting the struggles of the working class, honestly. You know, I kind of just pulled that out of a hat, you know, out of nowhere. But I feel like there's enough evidence to support that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a little biased because I really like this episode. And yeah, that's not the central focus of this episode. To be honest, most of this episode is just very goofy. Just a lot of shenanigans between Squidward and SpongeBob. But I feel like there's something there. And I feel like the fact that it kind of stuck with me after all these years, despite me not even watching the episode recently, like, I feel like you should give credit where credit is due, right? So pizza delivery, let's see, where is it? It's gonna be under P-I-Z, pizza delivery. I think I'm actually gonna put it under philosophical. That might be a hot take, but I think you could learn a lot from it. So we're gonna put pizza delivery as a look into the struggles of the service of service workers. Yeah, like no one in their right mind would ever say that that's what they learned from that episode, but I'm saying it. And I'm not in my right state of mind, so I guess it all checks out now, doesn't it? Anyways, the next episode is Home Sweet Pineapple. So, in this episode, SpongeBob's pineapple, his home, is consumed by nematodes. So, I don't remember too much from this episode. I just remember that, like, SpongeBob's house gets eaten by these nematode creatures, which are, like, I don't actually really know what nematodes are. I apologize. But from what they look like, they look like worms. But they remind me of the sea equivalent of termites. So they basically just eat SpongeBob's entire home and leave nothing. So now SpongeBob is homeless. So he has to go to his friend's house, namely I think just Patrick and Squidward is who he goes to. So he goes to their house to like try to sleep over until he can find a replacement, and they let him in, but there's like some struggles between them. Like SpongeBob and Gary aren't able to be comfortable in Patrick's home because he always hogs the blanket and things like that. And also he's like a loud snorer. And then when he goes to Squidward's house, Squidward just I think the bit with Squidward is kind of funny because SpongeBob like wakes up Squidward in the middle of the night, and so like Squidward's like really relaxed and is just like kind of just going with the flow. So when SpongeBob like asks Squidward to stay over, he's just like Squidward is just like so tired that he's like, yeah, okay, like let's sleep over. And then like they're like getting all comfy and they're all like adjusted in the bed. But then Squidward like finally wakes up and realizes that he's sleeping next to SpongeBob, so he angrily kicks him out. So that was a little funny bit. So how does this end? Oh, yeah. So it ends with SpongeBob's parents coming to pick up SpongeBob because he can't live here anymore on the street because he doesn't have a house. So he's going to go back to living with his parents. Patrick is, like, distraught over the fact that his best friend is technically moving away, I guess. And Squidward is, like, eagerly dancing on the gravesite of SpongeBob's house. And so Patrick is, like... I forget whose tear it is. I don't know if it's the tears from SpongeBob or Patrick because they're crying, or like tears of joy from Squidward. I think it's, if I read correctly, it's despondent SpongeBob buries the pebble from the beginning of the episode where his house used to be because it holds too many memories. He begins to tear up, and one tear falls on the spot, the tear of the Goofy Goober, where the pebble was planted. However, the pebble is actually a seed, and SpongeBob waters the pineapple seed, which causes it to grow a giant pineapple. And so, yeah, so basically the episode ends with SpongeBob actually got a seed. Like, the only part that was left over from his house after the nematodes ate it was a single pebble, so he thought, but it was actually a seed. So when he planted it in the same spot as his house and cried, it grew the pineapple instantly because this is SpongeBob. Common sense doesn't matter. And so it, like, grows, and then he has a new house again, and Squidward is, like, crushed underneath the pineapple. I remember as well. So what can we learn from this episode? I don't, not really much, honestly. Honestly, I don't know what you would learn from this episode. I guess, have a support system for, like, if the worst case happens. So in this case, SpongeBob's house was completely eaten, and so he needed a support system to take care of him, even though they didn't. Because he couldn't sleep with Patrick, and he couldn't sleep with SpongeBob, and with Squidward, so he had to move back home. The people are difficult to live with, because he tried to, like, live, wait, sorry, I got a text. Okay, sorry. Cause then, like, he tried to, like, stay with Squidward and Patrick, but they, like, had a bunch of, like, conflict when they were, like, trying to sleep together. So maybe there's something there about, like, you know, it's hard living with other people. But I think you know where I'm going. I feel like this episode is just nonsense. Like, there's really nothing you can learn from it. So what is this? Home Sweet Pineapple? Yeah, I'm gonna say Home Sweet Pineapple is gonna go in. Is mayonnaise an instrument? Because like I just genuinely don't even know what you would argue for this episode as like a main theme, like a main takeaway. Like I guess it's like so like I said, but it's not strong enough. I think the main selling point for this episode was just the funny shenanigans of SpongeBob trying to stay with people but struggling to, and then Squidward getting punished for laughing about SpongeBob moving away. And, those are the main things you could take away. So, Sweet Pineapple. We're just going to put us nonsense because I don't really think there's anything to say there. So, anyways, we're going to move on to the next episode, which is Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy Volume 1. So, in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick try to convince their heroes to come out of retirement. So what I can say about this episode is that, okay, so SpongeBob and Patrick, they have a favorite TV show, obviously. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, they really look up to them. They're basically their idols. But they find out that they're retired because the series is like getting old and they just cannot have it because SpongeBob and Patrick believe that they're still evil in this world and that they need the heroes of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy to still be in like action and basically be able to stand up for the crime. So they go to the retirement home and it's kind of like a don't meet your heroes kind of story where it's like SpongeBob and Patrick, they really idolize Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy from the TV show, but when they actually meet them, they realize they're just like two old dudes that like don't really actually care about I wouldn't say don't care, but they seem much more nonchalance than they necessarily did. And they're like not as heroic, I guess. They're just like kind of mundane people. So then SpongeBob and Patrick basically just like cause a bunch of problems at the retirement home, and Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man, they like kind of catch on to like what they're trying to do, and they're like, hey, you need to stop just like causing problems. Like we should only be trying to help like with actual issues, and you're becoming an issue by trying to make up all these fake issues, like you're not taking us seriously, and you're going to make us not take actual crime seriously because we're going to think it's just one big joke from you. Sorry, I need to take a breather. But anyways, so then at the end of the episode, I forget what happens. I don't know like what sets it off, but SpongeBob and Patrick like really become a big source of conflict. So Barnacle Boy and Mermaid Man, they have to step into action and they have to help free the elderly residents from SpongeBob and Patrick and throw them out, basically. And so the adventures of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy get a is it a spin-off or I guess a sequel series called The New Adventures of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. So at the end of the day, SpongeBob and Patrick get what they wanted. Their heroes back in action. They just had to become their own arch nemesis, their own villains. So, what can we learn from this episode? Like I said, it could be an argument of a don't meet your heroes kind of thing. But it could also be like, I don't know, I could also see it as a little bit harmful because it's like a lot of the episode is like just SpongeBob and Patrick just being menaces to society, which again, if we listed every episode where SpongeBob and Patrick were being menaces to society as harmful, every episode would be harmful. So I can't necessarily say that, but I do feel like it's a little bit more direct. Like I feel like they're a little bit more unreasonable in this episode because like they're really just like trying to like make problems where there are no problems. But like I guess it also there is a net good at the end, I guess, because Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, they realize like they don't want to retire just yet. Like they realize that they still have some like pep in their step. And they also just and then the series is revived, and I'm sure like SpongeBob and Patrick aren't the only fans of the series. I'm sure they had other fans that like were very thankful to see the show return. So they also helped that aspect. And like, SpongeBob and Patrick caused problems, but they did get all solved. So Yeah, I'm not sure if I would put it as harmful. I feel like there's enough substance there for it to be okay. Like it's not like it's not like the most harmful thing. So yeah, okay. So we're gonna say Barnacle Boy and blah 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 blah. Remember me on Barnacle Boy right here, the first one. I was looking for the first one. Um, we'll put on an average. I'm gonna put on an average because I don't think it would be Nick Jr. approved. I don't think it's high enough educational value. Like, I don't think it's huh. Because actually, I do like the angle of it being about like retirement, like a story of retirement, where Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy were trying to retire too soon, but like they're still in their prime, or like they still have some more pep in their step. They still have a lot more to live. They were kind of just like accepting the fact that it was their time, and they were kind of giving up prematurely. Until SpongeBob and Patrick made them realize that they were not ready to retire. So I feel like that angle, that's pretty profound. That's pretty good. I would like that. I would like to show my kid that, or maybe not my kid necessarily. I don't know if my kid would be thinking about retirement at the age of 4, but I wouldn't be opposed to. So yeah, I want to be. Maybe I want to move it up a tier because average is like it's just like it's kind of like nonsense, but there's something there. I feel like there's something here, and maybe even more. Like I feel like there's a lot to support the theme that I'm putting down here. So maybe I'll put it in Nick Jr. approved. Actually, I feel like it's not a bad one for that. Okay, so what is this? What is it called? Specific Mermaid Man, Barnacle Boy. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Is Mermaid Man 2 words or 1 word? Barnacle Boy is also. I don't know. I think they're both 1 word, but it looks weird as 1 word. Okay, I don't want to put it as 1 word. So it's like a don't meet your heroes kind of story at first, like surface level. It's a don't meet your heroes, but I would say it's like commentary on like retirement and like on retirement and not giving up too early. Still live your life. Sure. I don't know how to summarize that better. There is a better way of saying that, but the notes, it's just to have something to go back to. It's not necessarily anything serious. So we're just gonna put that down. So yeah, I think that's yeah. Like thinking about it, I feel like there's a lot more there than just an average episode. So that's good. Pickles. Ooh, this is an interesting one. We'll get to this one. Okay, so SpongeBob loses his confidence after forgetting to put the pickles on a Krabby Patty. So in this episode, basically what we learn, it's kind of like so this is actually really fast to summarize. Basically, a very difficult customer called Bubble Bass goes to the Krusty Krab asking for a Krabby Patty, but he's like very specific. SpongeBob is actually like rivals with Bubble Bass because I think they went to high school together and they're not friends. So SpongeBob is trying to prove himself to Bubble Bass, but Bubble Bass is like, hey, you're not the best fry cook actually because you forgot my pickles. And so like SpongeBob's ashamed because like he had this like reputation of being the best fry cook around, but here he's embarrassed himself basically in front of his own arch rival being what's his name? Bubble Bass. Being Bubble Bass, he's embarrassed himself. So it's kind of like a story of shame, I guess, or pride. Because so he embarrasses himself because Bubble Bass is like, hey, you forgot to include pickles. SpongeBob leaves in shame, goes home or retires, I guess technically, and it's like, I'm not gonna return to the Krusty Krab until I make the perfect Krabby Patty again, like until I can prove myself again. So he goes home. He's at first really disjointed and very depressed. But Mr. Krabs trains him, and then he's able to like get back in his groove again. And so he goes back to the Krusty Krabs. Krusty Krab and cooks again because Bubble Bass comes back with the same order, and Spongebob is like, I won't forget the pickles this time, and like, you know, cooks the perfect burger again. Bubble Bass is like, actually, you forgot the pickles again. And so at first SpongeBob is like, I can't believe I forgot the pickles again. Like, there's no way that I messed up again. So SpongeBob is like, no, I know for sure that I included the pickles. So he goes up to Bubble Bass, realizes that like Bubble Bass is like kind of talking weird, like with his tongue, and so SpongeBob like grabs the Bubble Bass's tongue, lifts it up, and realizes that the pickles are just being hidden under Bubble Bass's tongue, and so that he did include the pickles. It's just Bubble Bass was purposely trying to deceive him and like make him doubt himself. And then also the rest of the restaurant realized that Bubble Bass has been hiding other items under his tongue that he stole from people, like keys and things like that. And so, anyways, the episode ends with like the whole restaurant giving 3 cheers for SpongeBob for being the best fry cook around and for like, you know, stopping the menace that is Bubble Bass. So, well, what can we learn from this episode? Once again, we can learn the customer isn't always right. You know, the struggles of the service workers. So sad indeed. There's a little bit of like a confidence thing too. I think this episode is really kind of does have a theme of like, you know, being confident in your abilities and not letting the words of other people affect you. Because like the first time when Bubble Bass like confronted SpongeBob on the whole issue, he was like, you forgot the pickles. And SpongeBob was just like so quick to believe Bubble Bass, despite his better judgment and despite, you know, knowing that he's a good fry cook and that he probably did include the pickles and that, like, something else is strange. No, he doubted himself and believed the words of a customer and, like, ended up sending himself into a spiral where he didn't want to work anymore and he didn't think he was worthy enough of being a fry cook. And then also there was that nice interaction between Mr. Krabs, like, you know, training SpongeBob again, and then, you know, them really bonding over that and showing SpongeBob that, like, you are a good fry cook, like, you can do this. And so then at the end of the episode, when he faces off with Bubble Bass again, and Bubble Bass tries to, like, you know, say the same lie, SpongeBob is so confident in his own abilities that he's able to recognize that Bubble Bass is lying and is able to expose himself, to expose Bubble Bass as the fraud he is. So I feel like that is a really important, I feel that's an important lesson that we can, like, take away. And, like, is almost philosophical, like, it's just, like, so supported by the narrative that I don't think it stops at just being Nick Jr. approved. I feel like it can transcend to philosophical. I feel like because, sorry, let me get a break real quick. So I feel like with philosophical tier, when I first made it, I really thought, like, I only wanted to put, like, the best of the best up there. And, like, that's true, but I don't think the best of the best is as exclusive as I was necessarily thinking. Like, I don't think the episode has to have, like, the most profound meaning to be philosophical. I feel like just, if I feel overall that episode supported that theme so strongly and can, like, really resonate with someone, that it could be philosophical, that it could be more than just high educational value. Because high educational value just means that there's a theme and it was supported. Philosophical means, like, that was the episode. The theme was the episode, basically. Like, this is something that can resonate with someone higher than just, like, being a theme of an episode. And then fun is just there being a message, and then mayonnaise instrument is, like, obviously nonsense, and then harmful is harmful. So I feel like pickles, wherever it is, where's pickles? Here, pickles, I feel like we can definitely put it in philosophical. I feel like there's just a lot of lessons that can be learned and a lot of support for it. So if we go back, and if we go to pickles, we can say, you know, customer is not always right. That's the first comment I said. Customer is not always right, but it's also a commentary on confidence, trusting in yourself, and standing up for yourself. and not letting the words of others get to you. Yeah, I feel like all of those are very strong themes from that, so. Then we can get into the next episode. But before we get into the next episode, I think I am gonna just relax for a little bit. So we're gonna take a little bit of a break. Just let me catch my breath, because how many episodes have we gone through so far? We've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so we've gone through 13 episodes of like just me nonstop talking. So I'm just gonna sit for a hot second. Catch my breath. If anyone's in the chat and wants to say anything now, feel free to say something. Like if you're still here and you just want to say hi, if you have like anything to say about any of the rankings so far, here they are. I think we have an interesting list so far. There's a lot there. Or if you just want to any other comments, feel free to just leave it. But we're just gonna chill for a hot second because I need to catch my breath. This is where it would be good if I had like a be right back scene, because like I could just like put that up for a hot second and just let that sit. But I don't have that, unfortunately, but it's okay. If you can hear in the background, there's just like Spongebob music playing that my roommate recommended that I have in the background. It's like kind of been in my ear this whole time. It's been a little it got a little annoying after being so long, but it was okay. That would be cool if you made one. Hi, Starlumine. Thank you for coming by the stream. Yeah, I know. I really do want to like start working on like my branding things. I think it would be really nice to have like a be right back screen, a starting soon screen, like emotes and things like that. I definitely want to like work on those things. So I just need to like go out and look for artists to commission for those things. I think they would really help elevate my stream. Especially if I plan to do more talking streams, because I need a way to like take a breather without it like just being a weird awkward silence, So I'll try to work on that in the future, but this is the first Just Chatting stream, so a lot of kinks to work out. But I'm surprised I've been able to talk for essentially 90 minutes straight. But yeah, thank you for being in the stream. I really appreciate it. It's very nice. I hope it's interesting to remember all of these old SpongeBob episodes and try to look at them at a different angle, a little bit of a different perspective. And I thought it was a fun thought experiment that, who else is doing? And also, it's probably actually going to end up being another topic that we're going to have to return to eventually, because we're at 100 minutes or an hour 40 minutes so far, and we've only gotten through 3, 6, 9, 11, 13 episodes. Yeah, I think your summary should be a bit briefer. 13 episodes in an hour and a half. Yeah, but like also we could just do multiple streams of this. So I guess the question is more so like, do you think my summaries are too long-winded? Like, just not like, don't focus on the time, but like, are they just long-winded in general that you think they should just be briefer? Or is it more of just like a time concern? Because if it's a time concern, I mean, we'll just revisit it another time. But if it is just like too long-winded, it's like you're gonna go into details that we don't need to hear again, then I can try to shorten it a bit. Yeah, I can shorten my summaries. A bit, because I remember all these episodes pretty well. Okay, yeah. I'll try to be a bit more just direct. I think the more interesting part is more of the analysis of the educational values anyway, so yeah, I probably don't have to go too in-depth. I think most people will know the episodes, yeah. maybe like when we start getting to like season 7, if that ever happens, then I can be more long-winded because people won't know season 7 episodes as much as season 3 episodes, obviously. Yeah, I want to debate the episodes more. Yeah. So yeah, we'll try to be a little more, little more to the point with them. Okay. Let me just take one more sip of my tea, and then we'll get into the next episode. Oh, but yeah, so Nathan, do you have any episodes you want to debate about, though? We could also do that, like looking at the tier list real quick. Do you think I unfairly put any episodes in a certain tier, or do you think they all make sense? You think, I feel like they're fair. I feel like I gave some fair rankings. I explained myself. Maybe a bit much, but I explained myself. Okay, so let's go to the next episode. I think they all make sense so far. Okay, yes. So, the next episode, Hall Monitor. SpongeBob takes his role as the Hall Monitor of Mrs. Puff boating school too far. So yeah, so in this episode, basically Mrs. Puff, what is this? What is this? I did not remember this still image from the episode. That is very comedic. But yeah, so in this episode, basically, Mrs. Puff gives SpongeBob the duty of being the hall monitor, just because I think that's like where the role fell for the week. You want that? No, you don't. Welcome, Uni Air, to the stream. Thank you for commenting and stopping by. Of course, this is what you comment on. The face. Yeah, of course. So he's the hall monitor, but he takes it a bit too far. Like, he basically becomes a hall monitor for not just the school, but, like, the entire, community of Bikini Bottom. Which, like, I don't know who gave him that authority, but he basically just becomes a menace to society again and tries to police people on, like, how to drive and how to act. And so he causes so much of a ruckus that the police actually send out a wanted sign for him and, like, shows it around town and, like, tries to get SpongeBob. But the whole hijinks is that SpongeBob is trying to chase this criminal that he sees in the picture. That he doesn't see it, but Patrick, who's, like, on a walkie-talkie with him again, Patrick's like, oh, there's this criminal at large, SpongeBob, you have to be careful. Little doesn't SpongeBob know that it's actually himself, and so there's a little shenanigans with that. So I think the main thing we can learn from this episode is to not let power get to your head, right? Because SpongeBob, he was given this position of authority where he was a hall monitor, and so he really let it get to his head. He tried to police a bunch of people that he ended up becoming a bigger problem that society was trying to, like, find. And then, like, there's that whole thing about, like, him chasing his own tail and things like that. So, I kind of want to say, I feel like that's a pretty strong, that's a strong theme. Like, you don't want to be, what's that saying? It's like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. I'm not saying that necessarily applies here because SpongeBob was a hall monitor for, like, a day and became a menace to society. But I think it falls along the lines of, like I said, like, letting power get to your head. But there's not really any repercussions for SpongeBob at the end of the episode because he gets caught, but all of the blame gets put on Mrs. Puff because Mrs. Puff is technically the one that elected SpongeBob to the leadership role, which is another important lesson because yes, the people, it is important for, like, the authority figure to get in trouble for, like, misjudging someone and, like, improperly putting them in a position of power. Like, yeah, it was Mrs. Puff's fault for putting SpongeBob as a hall monitor, but I also feel like to put the theme further, SpongeBob also should have been punished if we're going with the whole educational thing, right? So I think I would put this as average. I think we could look at it as harmful because, like I said, SpongeBob doesn't get, like, doesn't get punished for his actions. But I don't think we're also necessarily rooting for SpongeBob because he's very much presented as a very goofy person throughout the episode. Where like he's literally chasing his own tail. So I don't think you're necessarily like learning from SpongeBob either. So I think it could be an average lesson of like, don't let power get to your head, don't let being in authority get to your head, and also, like be careful who you put in a power position on the side of Mrs. Puff. So yeah, we're gonna put Hall Monitor in the average tier, I think. Where's Hall Monitor? H. Oh, here we go. Yeah, average tier. And then we need to get here. Home Monitor. Don't let power get to your head / corrupt you. Be careful be careful with who you put in a position of authority. Yes. Good. Okay. Wow. Next episode. The next episode is Jellyfish Jam. So in this episode, SpongeBob brings home a jellyfish, creating chaos. So yeah, if I remember this episode correctly, SpongeBob befriends a jellyfish and takes it home as a pet. But like it just basically causes a bunch of problems for himself and for his neighbors because like they party very loud. The jellyfish like stings Squidward a few times, I think. The jellyfish like brings a lot of his friends over to SpongeBob's home, and just SpongeBob is not having a good time. Trying to have a jellyfish as a pet the whole episode, basically, because, like, the jellyfish tries to party the whole time and then, makes a mess of things. So I think the main lesson we can learn from this episode is to, there's just some animals that you can't have as a pet. And honestly, I think that this episode really supports that. Like, SpongeBob is actually punished by the narrative in this case. I see that Unier is dino dancing a lot because of the jellyfish jam. Yeah, wait, actually, let me see. Jellyfish jam. Here you go. I know this is what you wanted. Yeah, I know this is what you wanted. Dun, 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 dun. Bum, bum. I forgot how it actually went. That's very funny. Dun, 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 dun. I have to turn it down a little bit, probably. It's kind of loud. So yeah, they kind of party a bit, causing a ruckus. So I think that's like the general. I feel like that's a really strong, actually, argument that I can put for this episode is, where do I put it? Wait, what is this episode called again? Jellyfish Jam, yeah. Literally the title I just searched up. So yeah, so there's just some animals that you can't keep as a pet. And I think that is an important lesson to be learned. Where's Jay? Where's Jellyfish? Why here we go. And I think that's a high educational value, actually. I think we could put that in the category of, I feel like it would be Nick Jr. approved. Would it be? Yeah, it would be. Because, because there's also, sufficient evidence to support that argument. Because, like I said, SpongeBob gets punished by the narrative because, he also starts to get annoyed with the jellyfish that he took in as a pet, despite all the warnings he got by his friends. He was warned, but he still did it anyways. So he learns his lesson, and then at the end of the day, it's kind of like a happy ending, which is very rare for a SpongeBob episode. So I think it is a high educational value episode. I don't think it's necessarily philosophical. I don't know how many people are going to try to keep a jellyfish as their pet. But I do think it is strongly supported by the narrative. So I guess this is a case where it's it's a very, how do I want to put this? The episode the episode's theme is strongly supported by the episode, but I wouldn't necessarily say the theme is strong enough to be philosophical. Where we've had the opposite happen, where it's like the theme is really strong and there's just enough sufficient evidence for it to be, philosophical. But this is actually the opposite problem. So it's gonna go there. And there's our jellyfish jam. How exciting. Now we're gonna go back to our 10 hours of SpongeBob grass skirt chase music. Let's go. Okay, next episode. Sandy's Rocket. Wait, actually I want to see how far are we in season 1, actually. Let's take, oh my gosh, there's still so much of season 1. We're at episode 8A. There is 20B, and I am almost 2 hours in. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Ooh, oh boy, this is a long one. Okay. Anyways, back to Sandy's rocket though. So, in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick sneak onto Sandy's rocket ship. So, what can we learn from this episode? We learned from this episode that might be a season 1 stream. It might be, honestly. I don't know. I'm already kind of getting fatigued already. So before the stream, I set myself up with a glass of juice, a glass of tea, and a glass of water. I have finished the glass of juice. I am like halfway through the tea, and then I haven't really touched the water because the water is for like that's the last resort. That's like the desperation. But we're getting through all of our liquid foundation. What am I trying to say? Our liquid reserves. We'll see how far we get. So anyways, yes. So Sandy's Treedom. Wait, no, this isn't Sandy's Treedom. Sandy's Rocket. Basically, what happens in this episode is that SpongeBob visits Sandy's house and realizes that Sandy built a rocket ship. And so, he wants to follow along and he wants to ride the rocket ship with Sandy to, do whatever exploration she does. But Sandy doesn't, think he's, cut out for the trip, because, it isn't for fun. This is, this is, gonna be a serious trip. So, Sandy doesn't want SpongeBob to tag along. But, SpongeBob tags along. SpongeBob, gets Patrick, and then Patrick convinces SpongeBob and him to, break into Sandy's rocket anyways. And then, they accidentally fly off. So, if I remember correctly, SpongeBob and Patrick, they were just, trying to check out the rocket ship and, I guess also, surprise Sandy. But they didn't mean to take off. But, they do accidentally take off. And they think that they, fly to another planet, but they end up just crashing back into Bikini Bottom. But they think they're in, foreign space. So SpongeBob and Patrick, they put on, these space suits. They have, this alien repellent spray that, isn't actually alien repellent spray. And they, go around Bikini Bottom, capturing people in nets because they think they're aliens. And so Sandy eventually has to, go get SpongeBob and Patrick and stop them from kidnapping basically everyone in Bikini Bottom. And so, and so the episode ends with SpongeBob kidnapping everyone in Bikini Bottom because Sandy is unable to stop him. And I think Sandy herself also gets captured by them. So SpongeBob actually captures Patrick because he gets really paranoid and starts thinking that Patrick is also one of them and is also an alien. So he captures Patrick as well. And he flies the rocket back home thinking that they're on another planet, and then he realizes that he's still in Bikini Bottom and he basically kidnapped everyone. How sad. So I think this episode, I don't think it's necessarily harmful because I don't think kids readily have access to rocket ships, and I don't think they're gonna kidnap people thinking that they're aliens. I hope not. I don't think it's encouraging that, actually. So, yeah. Because that's the biggest argument, I guess, for it to be harmful, is that, if you think somehow you can connect it to children, trying to kidnap other children for a game. But I don't think it's doing that. But But I also don't think there's a lesson to be learned from this episode. Like, I guess you could argue there's like a whole thing about like, what am I trying to say? But like don't like steal people's things because they stole Sandy's rocket ship technically, and then like used it without her permission, and then like it caused like this whole thing. I guess there's also kind of a commentary in like paranoia and like don't like lose your self control, don't go around attacking people. But that's just all nonsense, really. That's just like all things that like you really have to grasp from the episode. So I think that Sandy's rocket is gonna go into the nonsense tier. And where is Sandy's rocket? Here is S. Here is Sandy's rocket. So yeah, I think it's gonna go in the nonsense tier. What was the episode before this? Jellyfish Jam? I figured. I didn't do anything for Jellyfish Jam. So this is, oh no, it's more like some animals are not meant to be domesticated pets. Very valuable lesson for some people. Some people try to make anyone a pet. I mean, not anyone. They don't try to make humans pets. That came out wrong. Some people try to make any animals into pets. There we go. Well, that could have been that was dangerous territory. So the next thing is Sandy's rocket that we just did, and this one's just like it's just kind of nonsense. It's like don't steal from others. Paranoia. Yeah. So yes, they do. Don't. No. We're not getting into that. There's a lot of things you can mean by that. Uni Air, be careful with your words here. Okay, so what is the next episode? Squeaky Boots. Oh gosh, Squeaky Boots. This is a loaded one. There's a lot we could get into with this one. So, in this episode, SpongeBob buys boots from Mr. Krabs, which causes an annoying squeaky sound. So, what can we learn from this episode? So, it's basically as the synopsis says, SpongeBob tries to be fashionable and gets how does this? I think it's actually Pearl who. Oh yeah, it's Pearl's birthday. She gets a present from her dad, Mr. Krabs, and it's a pair of rubber fishing boots. She obviously hates it, starts to cry, runs off, and SpongeBob accepts it instead because he thinks the boots are cool, and he's like, hey, I can wear these. So he starts to wear the boots around like the Krusty Krab when he's doing work, but it really drives Mr. Krabs insane because of all the squeaking, and so like it really gets to his head, so much so that he tries to bury the boots and then like lies to SpongeBob about like how they're lost forever. And so SpongeBob like goes to Mr. Krabs and it's like very sad. Oh wait, no, because Mr. Krabs, I think he like in the dead of night steals the boots from SpongeBob's house and then buries it under the Krusty Krabs. And so SpongeBob shows up the next day at work very depressed, and he's like, I'm so sorry, Mr. Krabs. Those, like, amazing boots you bought me, I lost them, and, like, I'm a horrible employee. And so, there's just, like, SpongeBob is basically just, like, very distraught about losing the boots, and, like, tries to, apologize to Mr. Krabs. But Mr. Krabs is, like, going crazy because he still hears the, like, squeaking from the rubber boots in the floorboards. It's very Telltale Heart. That poem from Edgar Allan Poe about, like, guilt and it manifesting in, like, sounds that you hear. Especially, and then, like, they have that whole imagery of, like, the floorboards, and it's buried under the floorboards, and they're gonna find out that it's buried under the floorboards, and, like, the sound gets, like, more intense. So, there's that whole aspect. And so, Mr. Krabs eventually snaps. He pulls out the floorboards, pulls out the squeaky boots, dips them into the fryer, and then devours them whole. And then SpongeBob is like, why did you do that? And then SpongeBob, wait. Oh, and then, wait. Sorry, I had to read the last bit of the episode. So anyways, SpongeBob, like, makes peace with the fact that his boss ate the boots that he got as a gift from his boss. And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't really need the boots. Anyways, yeah, okay, thank you. I'm okay with that. And then, so Mr. Krabs ends up taking a much-needed vacation after basically going insane. And he decides to be generous for once, and he buys Pearl the like fancy slippers that she actually wanted as her birthday gift, and they go on a week-long vacation. However, Mr. Krabs starts to hiccup, and it makes the same squeaking sound that drove him insane the whole episode. And honestly, I think this episode, what's it called? Is it Squeaky Boots or Bossy Boots? Squeaky Boots. Okay. So, Squeaky Boots, I think this is actually philosophical. So hear me out here. Let me get it. Okay. Hear me out here. Okay, so it's kind of like mirroring the telltale heart thing, where it's like, guilt manifesting into like sounds, and you should always confess to your sins, to your guilt, before it manifests and drives you insane. But they also kind of have like that karma thing, where it's like, Mr. Krabs learned his lesson. He was greedy and didn't get Pearl the boots that she wanted, and so it ended up going to Spongebob, who drove him insane with the squeaky noises, and it also kind of manifested into guilt of like, guilt into like, when he actually steals the boots and buries them. But also it kind of plays into that thing of like, you didn't get Pearl what she actually wanted, this is you suffering your consequences. And so Mr. Krabs is like going insane. He confesses to SpongeBob for what he did, but he still doesn't learn his lesson, because even though he like tells SpongeBob everything, he still like kind of takes advantage of SpongeBob, because he takes his SpongeBob's bonus and then uses it to go on a week-long vacation for himself, still not really learning his lesson of like, maybe if you just consider it, this all wouldn't have happened. And then he also ends up giving Pearl the gift that she wanted for her birthday anyways, but he's still cursed with the squeaking because of his actions. So I feel like it's a little philosophical, if you ask me. Like, the narrative punishes Mr. Krabs for his greed, and it's a big commentary on greed and karma, and on guilt and squeaking in the floorboards, and accepting the punishment for your crimes. All of that jargon and tomfoolery. So, with that, we're gonna put Squeaky Boots as exactly what I said about like guilt, karma, punishment for greed, and all of that. Very, very philosophical, as I say so myself. And the next episode is Nature Pants. So, SpongeBob gives up a modern life to live off the land with the jellyfish. So, in this episode, we basically, the whole idea is SpongeBob wishes that he has a dream where he's a jellyfish. And so he decides to, like, take this to the furthest extreme that he possibly can, and decides to become a jellyfish. I don't know how to describe it any more than that. But yeah, so he like goes out into the wild, and he just like frees himself of his material objects. So he gives away his prized jellyfishing net to Patrick, and then like he tells his plans to his friends. He gives them his like clothes and like house and like money and all things like that, and then he just walks on off. And then there's this like funny bit where like Sandy and Squidward and everyone else is like, I'll give him a week, and Squidward's like, I give him 11 minutes of like living out in the wild and like on his own. And so Patrick is still distraught at the fact that his best friend just like left to live in nature. So he tries to go to Jellyfish Fields to bring his friend home, and uses SpongeBob's jellyfish net, old reliable, to catch him. And so eventually Patrick gives up because SpongeBob keeps like dodging him. And then SpongeBob, tries to like live out in the wild, but He actually ends up trying to sleep in a cave, but gets poisoned by sea urchins, causing him to get very itchy. And then he just realizes that he's not meant to like live out in the wild. So he returns back to Bikini Bottom, and he's greeted with like a welcome home party by all his friends, and like he's forgiven for like, you know, ditching them and trying to live out in the wild, and like, you know, he gets like all of his things back, and like everyone gives him a group hug. But they all end up getting the sea urchin poison because, you know, SpongeBob still has that all over his body. So what can we learn from this episode? I don't really know, actually. I guess you could learn, don't try to live out in nature if, like, you're not built for that. You know, like, don't just, like, leave home all your worldly possessions. I would say, like, it could have been a commentary on, like, humans don't need materialistic objects. But it's, like, actually the opposite, because SpongeBob is directly punished in the narrative for, not following along and for, like, you know, trying to, like, do something different. So, actually, he did need his material objects, so I can't say that. So, yeah, I'm trying to, like, really think, but I don't know what I would put as the main objective here. It's a little bit hard to narrow it down to something particular. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about it a little bit harder. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to end up putting it in the nonsense tier. Like I said, like, maybe it's just, like, a little bit of a commentary about, you know, like, let's not, like, live out in the wild. Like, you know, everyone has their place. You shouldn't mess with nature. There's, like, that, I guess. Yeah, I guess there's, like, a don't mess with nature, almost. Actually, I can see an argument for average now. Actually, I thought it was, like, complete nonsense. But I do feel like there's, like, strong enough things for it to be average. Like, I feel like there's that whole, like, commentary of, like, yeah, we can learn from SpongeBob of, like, what not to do. Like, it's not complete nonsense in that regard. So, here. Nature Pants, we will actually put in that average tier. Yes. Sorry. I'm a lot of hiccups now. Just like in Squeaky Boots. Oh no. So, Nature Pants, it's like, learn from SpongeBob not to just give up on everything in your life and flee to the wild. Also, your friends will support you. Because, yeah, his friends supported him because they, like, threw him a welcome party. And, like, you know, they let him, like, learn his lesson. They let him go off, but they were still, like, you know, keeping track of him, trying to take care of him, and, you know, they threw the party. So I think there's also that aspect as well. So, you know, there's a little bit of positivity there, too. That's pretty good. So, next episode is Opposite Day. Wait, let me drink more of my tea. My throat's getting a little dry again. Okay, so this episode is Squidward tells SpongeBob and Patrick that it is opposite day. So basically, in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick, I don't know I don't actually know how it starts. I know there's like there's the whole conflict thing with like Squidward, is scared that SpongeBob and Patrick are gonna ruin his chances of moving out, because Squidward is trying to move out of the neighborhood because, you know, he's tired of SpongeBob and Patrick's shenanigans, and so he calls a realtor, that being, so he calls a realtor to sell his house, but they first need to do like an inspection of the house and the neighbors to make sure that the house can sell. And so, you know, Squidward is scared that SpongeBob and Patrick are going to be such a nuisance that they're going to ruin his chances of selling the house. So, Squidward ends up telling SpongeBob and Patrick that it's opposite day in hopes that, like, it convinces them to be good neighbors. And, like, I think Squidward's line of thinking is that, like, if they do everything opposite as they normally would, then theoretically they would be good. And then they would not misbehave, and, like, you know, they wouldn't, like, end up getting Squidward not being able to, like, sell his house. They would be good neighbors is what I'm trying to say. But they actually end up, like, being even more annoying because they settle on the idea that the opposite of being themselves is to be Squidward. So SpongeBob and Patrick pretend to be Squidward, so much so that they, like, try to, like, live in Squidward's house, while, like, Squidward is trying to fix up SpongeBob and Patrick's house, because Squidward also realizes that SpongeBob and Patrick's house need to look normal and nice so that, you know, the realtor, like, doesn't think they're weirdos, I guess. So while Squidward is, like, fixing up their houses, SpongeBob and Patrick are taking over Squidward's house, and the realtor actually comes by, and so there's this, like, whole debacle where, like, SpongeBob and Patrick pretend to be Squidward, and then they, like, really annoy the realtor, and then Squidward comes back, and he's like, I'm Squidward, and then the realtor is like, he's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward, is there any other Squidwards I should know about? And then, like, Gary goes on screen and, like, meows, and so the realtor explodes, thinking that, like, this was all one big prank on her, and then refuses to sell Squidward's house. And so they celebrate opposite day, and Squidward goes insane and tries to bulldoze them over. He tries to bulldoze them. So what can we learn from this episode? I don't really know, actually. Yeah, what would I say you can learn from this episode? I guess you could learn, don't be a bad neighbor. That's something else. Don't pretend to set up opposite day. Be nice to realtors. Like, really, the argument here is it nonsense or is it harmful? So I'm trying to think what would be harmful. So, like, I guess there's nothing necessarily bad. It just kind of sucks that Squidward has bad neighbors. But it's not like kids can take that, like are gonna, like, take anything from that. So I think it's just, like, don't be bad. So it's just, like, kind of like just a nonsense thing. It's like, yeah, I really don't know what you would say for it. So we're gonna take opposite day, wherever that is. Here it is, opposite day, and we're gonna put it under nonsense. So, yeah. And I'm gonna have to write a quick thing for opposite day. Opposite day, where do I want to put some... Wait, what am I even looking for? I just had to write... I'll put what you said, Uni, here. Don't be bad. Be good neighbor. Don't lie about it being opposite day. That's also something you can learn, I guess. Okay. Okay. So we've now made it to episode 10. I think I'll do episode 10. But I'm actually getting a little bit more, I'm getting more tired faster than I expected to get tired. Like, tired of, like, talking and, like, summarizing the SpongeBob episodes. It's actually taking a little bit more mental capacity than I initially expected it to. So I might switch to just playing a game. after reviewing this episode, because I do still want to stream. I'm having fun streaming. I'm getting a little bit tired of like summarizing these SpongeBob episodes, so I might take a little break from that because it's a lot of talking, a lot of rambling, a lot of using my brain power. So yeah, I might take a little bit break from that, but we're still gonna stream. We're just gonna divert a bit. So let me drink some more water. Let's take a little bit of a break. We're gonna summarize 2 more episodes, technically 1 episode, and then we'll look into playing another game. And yeah, I think that'll put us at like 2.5 hours of ranking SpongeBob episodes, which is like, that's a hefty amount. That's a hefty amount anyways. So honestly, should not be sad about talking for 2.5 hours straight about SpongeBob. Honestly, it's a little insane. So in this episode, Squidward hosts a talent show at the Krusty Krab. So honestly, it's like directly as it said. I don't know how I would summarize this episode any other way. This is an iconic episode, but it's directly as it says. Mr. Krabs wants to make more money, and Squidward has this grand idea of hosting a talent show. And so they like have a bunch of acts with a bunch of different people, and Squidward tries to like, entertain the audience by being this like whole show-stopping number. But it's not working out because people don't like his impressive interpretive dance. And then also, like, there's also some other conflicts, like, with the other talents not necessarily being the best. But everyone is blown away by SpongeBob's performance of being a janitor and, mopping up the floor and cleaning up the place. And so there's, like, the episode basically ends with Squidward trying to, like, do this interpretive dance and being cultured, but the audience hating it. So Mr. Krabs sells tomatoes to throw at Squidward, and then, like, when they throw it at Squidward, they have to pay for the tomatoes, and then SpongeBob cleans up the tomatoes, which, causes the crowd to, like, cheer and really get hyped up. And so the event becomes a huge success, thanks to Squidward, technically, just not in the way that he wanted. So I think, once again, this is kind of like another nonsense episode, like, educational value-wise. Like, you can say it's like, don't be so full of yourself, like, don't be so confident that, like, your performance is gonna sell. Sometimes what people are interested in could be the most mundane of things. You never know what may entertain people. But I think that's a little bit of a stretch, to be honest, and, like, that is never taken anywhere, and I don't even really think it's a theme. So, culture shock will be going into the nonsense. That one's a really fast one to just knock out the way. So for culture shock, it's gonna be like, don't be so full of yourself in terms of your performance, enter in any form. Yes, so that's what I would put as that. And with that, we'll do this last episode, which is actually fun. This is a good episode to end on because it's actually based on our tier list, so that's good. So, in the episode Fun, SpongeBob befriends Plankton because he thinks he is lonely. So, the episode basically just begins with business as usual at the Krusty Krab, and, Plankton's trying to steal the Krabby Patty again, and, like, they're doing this whole chase thing, and Plankton still fails, so he still cannot steal... that was a little bit of a tongue twister. Plankton cannot steal the Krabby Patty and, like, get the Krabby Patty secret formula. And so SpongeBob thinks that, like, Plankton is lonely and, like, wants to befriend Plankton. And maybe if he could be friends with Plankton, he'll be able to convince them to no longer steal anymore. And so, basically, SpongeBob invites Plankton out to go jellyfishing. And, they sing the fun song where they're like, F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. And it's for anywhere and anytime at all down here in the deep blue sea. F is for fire that burns down the whole town. U is for uranium. bombs, and it is for no survivors when you... Yeah, that whole song. Love that song. 10 out of 10. So Plankton, has a lot of fun, like, singing along, but his initial plan was actually, to use SpongeBob, to befriend SpongeBob in order to find out what the Krabby Patty secret formula is, because, SpongeBob's the fry cook. So if he befriends SpongeBob, he should be able to find out what's in the Krabby Patty secret formula. So they do that, but what happens? Plankton actually starts to form, like, a genuine, like, friendship or bond with SpongeBob, but Mr. Krabs still does not believe that Plankton has changed. So Mr. Krabs sets up a trap to, like, show SpongeBob that Plankton isn't actually his friend, because Mr. Krabs, like, tries to tell SpongeBob, like, hey, I saw you hanging out with Plankton. He's just trying to fool you. But SpongeBob isn't having it. He's actually standing up to Mr. Krabs for once, and it's like, no, I believe that he's actually changed, and that, like, he actually loves our friendship. So Mr. Krabs decides to set up a trap. So at the movie theater, Mr. Krabs, like, sets up, like, a projector, Mr. Krabs, like breaks into a movie theater and sets up the projector to project commands that basically says that everyone should reach into their friends' or partners' pockets and see what they have. So SpongeBob reaches into Plankton's pockets and finds a Krabby Patty. So SpongeBob realizes that Plankton used him to get a Krabby Patty. Plankton, tries to explain that he realizes now that he only ever wanted friendship, and, Plankton attempts to explain that he realizes now that he only ever wanted friendship, before admitting to everything and running off with the patty through the movie screen, tearing it in half in the process. SpongeBob believes Plankton won because, he, ran off with the Krabby Patty formula and realizes that Plankton was just using him this whole time and their bond was not genuine. However, Mr. Krabs is like, no, I set up this whole plan, shows that it was a projector, and that Plankton actually just, badly, jumped into a concrete wall and actually injured himself, not actually being able to flee the scene. So, SpongeBob apologizes to Mr. Krabs, and they decide to go to the Krusty Krab and have a fresh Krabby Patty. So, Mr. Krabs flicks Plankton off the wall and onto... Oh yeah, and then so the episode ends with Mr. Krabs punishing Plankton for trying to trick SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs having a stronger bond and, really bonding over the fact that they technically stopped Plankton together, and also SpongeBob realizing that, he shouldn't let his kindness be taken advantage of, which is actually what I'm trying to get into for this episode's theme. So... one theme that, was really prevalent in the first half of the episode was, the theme of, not letting... no, that's the second half. No, the first half of the episode was, always extending your, kindness to other people, You should always try to give other people a chance. You should always be kind to others, because you never know what they're going through, and you never know, who you could befriend, and you never know, if someone is really trying to change for the better, and they just need someone to help them out. So that's the first half of the episode. SpongeBob is trying to go for the kill him with kindness angle, where he tries to befriend Plankton, really tries to be his friend. And, it seems to be working. SpongeBob's kindness seems to be changing Plankton for the better. However, the second half of the episode shows that, you can't necessarily befriend everyone. Sometimes people have evil intentions, and so you have to be cautious. You have to be able to, make judgments for yourself, and also trust the judgments of your friends who are looking out for you, and that, sometimes people will take advantage of your kindness for ulterior motives. And so that is kind of what the second half of the episode is. And for that, I actually want to put fun in philosophical, because I kind of like the dual-edged theming that you can get from the episode. And I think the episode, really strongly supports it. And I feel like it's a really important lesson to learn, especially for children and even for adults. That, you should always extend kindness to others, because you never know what someone's going through. And sometimes a little kindness can go a long way and may just be what someone is looking for. However, you also need to be cautious because you never know if people have ulterior motives, if they're just trying to take advantage of your kindness, and also, that like you should always have a support system that you trust and that could help you out when you are in a crisis and when you do find yourself in a situation when someone is taking advantage of you. But I will further on say that you should not let that change your nature because yeah, SpongeBob is not punished by the narrative. So I will say that the episode also supports the idea that like SpongeBob was not wrong for like believing in plankton and for being nice. The only thing that he technically did wrong, I guess you could say, is that he was a little too trusting from the get-go. And so that, you should like be cautious, but it's not necessarily always the wrong approach to, be nice, extend kindness, and, try to help others out when they need it. So it's a dual meaning, a dual message, and I think it complements each other very nicely, and I think it's all very intentional. So for that, it goes in philosophical. So yeah, so we're gonna put fun as in for a dual meaning, dual messaging. So the first half was really of the mindset of like always extend kindness to others, give kindness to others, look out for people in need, just things like that. And the second half was more of the mindset of like, be kind, but be cautious. You never know who may be taking advantage of your kindness. And yeah, some people may be trying to use your friendship, have people you can trust to support you. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot you can learn from fun. So with that, I do think I'm done with my SpongeBob rankings for today. We've been going for like almost exactly 2.5 hours now, so I think it's a good time to break. I definitely want to return to this. I had some fun moments with it. I actually really like the concept of like looking at these episodes in a different lens and like really looking for like what I deem as the educational values. But I might need to go to the drawing board a little bit more to like exactly figure out how I want to approach this again, because I definitely fatigued very fast. We definitely spent a bit too long on each episode, if I say so myself. And I think the interesting part was definitely trying to assign the educational value and not so much the summary. So we have some quirks to work out with this format, but I definitely do want to return to it one day. So we're just going to put it on the back burner, but I had fun with it. I hope that anyone watching also had fun with it. Just discussing, SpongeBob episodes and, looking at it in a different lens. I think there's a lot to be, there's a lot of fun that can be made with that. So yeah, we're just gonna try to work out the kinks for next time. But thank you for joining me in the rankings. I'll just briefly go over it now, just as an ending note for this part. So, for our top tier, the inner machinations of my mind are an enigma, also known as the philosophical episodes, or the episodes I deemed as having a really strong message and really strong supporting material for it. So this was Ripped Pants, Pizza Delivery, Pickles, Squeaky Boots, and Fun. The next tier below, we have Nick Jr. Approved, which either had a really strong theme, but kind of weak backing for it, or like a lot of evidence for a theme, but that theme itself may not necessarily be as strong. So this is Help Wanted, Tea at the Tree Dome, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and Jellyfish Jam. Fun is /average is basically I was able to find a theme that I do think has evidence in the narrative for it, but I do not think it was necessarily the intentions of the writers to have that as a theme, or it just like kind of was just not a good theme. So this was Naughty Nautical Neighbors, Boating School, Hall Monitor, and Nature Pants. Then the tier below that is very self-explanatory, is Mayonnaise an Instrument. Just basically a tier for nonsensical, goofy episodes where like there's honestly nothing I could even possibly try to argue for an educational value, even if I tried. And so this is Bubble Stand, Plankton, Home Sweet Pineapple, Sandy's Rocket, Opposite Day, and Culture Shock. Then the bottom tier is Sailor Mouth, or episodes that I think are harmful and like, you know, you like if you watched it, you may actually get learn something negative from it, or like you might have like a bad takeaway from it. And I deemed Reef Blower and Jellyfishing as episodes that fall into those categories. We also made a Google Doc of just notes on the episodes and like what the themes we thought we could get from it, from each episode were. And then this is our wiki. So with that, I think we're gonna move on to some games. So I have to set that up for a bit. So give me a second to set that up because I was not prepared for this. I apologize. Yeah. I can also stop the SpongeBob music. That was going on in my head this whole time. Oh my god, it was too much. Honestly, too much. The music. I should have turned that off sooner. Where is this? My mouse is lost. Oops. Wait, I need to fix that. My mouse is bugging. Uh-oh. Okay, found my mouse again. So, we're gonna go into a new source. Now I have to make a new... oh no, I have to make things on the spot now. Oh, okay. And this. Oops. Okay. Extend myself a little bit more. Don't worry about the username. I may be on someone else's account. Don't worry about that. And then we're gonna just play some teamfight tactics. I need to change that. Oops. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of things I need to do. I pressed accept already. Why did I do that? I still need to adapt some things. I need to change my stream title. Trying out TFT set. Set 10 on PvE. Team fight tactics. My ears. Okay, we're gonna turn that down to there. So that should be updated. What are these? Gold per item, Start with comp2. Let's start component anvils. I like component anvils. Okay. Woo! Component animals. So, I know nothing of any of the traits or any of the people or anything of what they do. So this is truly going to be a new experience. So we're starting with Evelyn. That's a lot of gold. Oh my god. Let's see. Heartsteel. Oh, okay, so headliner champions appear in every shop. They provide +1 to the mark trait. I see. This is a lot. This is a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to figure out. And also he starts as a 2-star. So it's kind of like the hero traits, or whatever they were called in the former set. Forgot what they were called. I think they were called the champions or something. I'm not sure though. So that's Heartsteel Sentinel, which is something, I guess. I have Disco and Guardians. I have that and this. What does Heartsteel do? Earn hearts by killing enemies. Gain even more by losing player combat. Oh, this is a lose streaking comp. Every 4-player combat converts hearts into powerful rewards. Okay, interesting. Get that, I guess. I guess I could try to lose streak. I don't think that would be the worst. I don't think that would be the hardest thing in the world to do. Lose streaking, right? It shouldn't be horrible. The night my mind is drifting away. Then I dream about times I wished for a new, happier day. If a hand could reach out right now. I wonder what a Felix is gonna be. Is he rapid fire? Do you think he is? Because I want to start getting things for him, I think. Probably won't end up using them, so yeah, let's take out those things. Yes, lose, please. Give me my lose streaking bonuses. Oh wait, I guess that doesn't matter yet though, because I don't have hearts to. Oh. Well, you can't really win them all, I suppose. Yeah, I guess I didn't necessarily need to do that yet, because that's not going to provide me with any benefit. Just really trying to figure out what I should be looking to have here. Because I'm not necessarily gonna get any. Because I can sell those two, but maybe I should sell Jinx just to reach the econ. Because yeah, I don't think it's that important to like, you know, like rush 2-star right now, especially if I'm lose streaking like this. Yeah, oh well. I really wish I had Heartsteel in, because then there would be a reason for me to be, or a stronger reason for me to be lose streaking like this, but. Disco? What does Disco do? Well, I guess I don't want to risk, do I want to risk switching to Disco? Not really. Here, let's just put her in. I can look at some Sentinel things. Let's look what Disco did though. That's an attack speed, so summon a movable Disco Ball, combat star, allies next to it gain attack speed and healing immediately every 3 seconds. That would have been interesting, but yeah, that would have been a little bit weird to adjust to now though, I think. So, not the worst that I didn't go for it. Could have been bad. I'm looking for... Oh, okay, here we go. Oh, I could have gone for the Yone. Could have gone for Yone. Especially because he has a bow. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Anything else in Heartsteel? Could get set. Hopefully we find a set. That'd be nice. Conversation and drink a last cup of coffee. Someday you might be 80. And think about the different things we used to say. All the memories would just become a ghost of a smile caught in the wind. Someday it'll be the last day. Okay. We have Heartsteel coming in hot. And we're going for the lose streak game. I should probably position at least like a little bit better, because I do think I'm going to lose no matter what right now. Because a lot of people seem to have pretty strong comps, so I don't think I need to play this poorly. I should probably adjust a little bit better, yeah. Or at least scout to like see how people are looking. Yeah, we'll do that next round. We're a part of us in the ring. Someday it'll be the last day. Crowd Diver and Edgelord. Very interesting names. I think I can at least try to be a little more. Yeah, a little more. That wasn't too harsh, right? Yeah, no, that was good, that was good, that was good. Ugh. Still a hard loss, actually. I wish that was a little bit smoother, but it's okay. Don't need jail. That's a big shot. Don't need jail, don't need jail, don't need jail. Ugh, I have so many AP items. Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I have so many AP items. Oh god. Ooh. Just have to deal with that, I suppose. To whispering into the emptiness. Okay. No. Please, just a little bit more. Just like get at least rid of someone. Oh god. Okay. No, that's still pretty poor. Ugh. Interesting. Oh god, this is just a bunch of things I don't need. I don't know how I'm gonna shift this actually. It's not looking amazing for us. Okay, we're about to get us a heart steal reward though, so that's something. Yeah, I don't think you necessarily start lose streaking with heart steal. You only lose streak when you have it. Like I started out lose streaking, but I should have waited. So that was a mistake. I think that's something, technically. Oh, we're winning? I mean, that's not good because he's also going heartsteel, but like, I guess I'm not opposed. I'll figure it out, then you'll see that I'm wherever I'm meant to be. I guess I'll get this. I don't really know what I'm supposed to be looking for right now. Ooh. I can get rid of you. I guess I technically could have kept Poppy, but I don't know. I didn't think that was gonna help me too much. What does Masha do? Mashas gain attack speed and Omni Vamp, which increases up to 100% based on their missing health. Interesting. Another frontline kind of thing. I'm trying to be happy. Face away. I'll figure it out, then you'll see that I was ever meant to be. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Please kill her at least. Okay, thank you. 3 unit loss isn't the worst. Still a lot of baloney here. A lot of repeat items. Oh my gosh, she has a 3-star true damage edgelord Yasuo. terrifying. That is actually terrifying. Oh my god. Well, I'm sure there's still a way to turn this all around, right? Well, need that at least. Please, Ezreal. Oh god. I'm just rolling everything. Yeah, it's not looking the best. This. No. True damage Akali? What? I thought what? Akali's in true damage? What? Am I the only one who's a little confused? I'm a little confused. Yeah, she put true damage together, I think, Silly Goose. First I'm hearing of this. I don't remember that at all. Oh god. Struggling. This is a struggle. About to lose. I'm about to die. She sings into song? Not ringing a bell. I'm sorry. Star drops, the cloud won't stop. My umbrella hangs by the door. I got Kane, but that's not gonna do anything for me. Really just not gonna help. I don't have much. Memory, a distant dream. I mean, there's a potential, technically. It's a stretch, though. Oops. I keep forgetting I can't tab. When days are long, I sing a song. A tiny pond rolls around. A memory, a distant dream. You'll always stay in my heart. I need one of these Heartsteel boys as my guardian sentinel thing. Just give him the sword because I need him to have something, but oh my goodness. These items are horrid. Oh, we're about to lose, aren't we? Oh my goodness. Please don't kill me. Okay. Still have to wait for this stupid box to open. It may just be over for us, I'm gonna be honest. Just please don't kill me. I want to at least get to the crows. If I can get to crows, I might be able to like scrounge up something. No! That game didn't happen, don't worry about it. That game didn't happen. So sad. So I look up at the ceiling fan. Match found. You can accelerate your team gains bonus attacks in a moment speed. That's something. Augment up some kind of gold tier. Start with one artifact. All augments gold. You guys don't want any pristine augments? Those are always fun to work with. Here. And so at the ceiling fan. Okay, I think I can't be afraid to like change if I really want to. By change I mean like change the comp if it's not working out. Although they're kind of handing me this now. That's Heartsteel right there. That's Heartsteel. So now I can econ a bit better, actually. So I can't, that goes against what I want. I'm not against Clear Mind, actually. Let's try some moshers, maybe? See if that does anything. Yeah. I can make a heart steel. Or a steadfast heart, my bad. I should be trying to lose streak, but I don't... It's not working out that way. I have another mosher. Team planner is nice to have if I try to think of something outside the box. Perhaps. Oh, he has the heart seal box too. Oh wait, but I think I'm gonna lose. Mwahahahaha. All according to plan. Please, Vi, kill the Cassante. You can do it. I believe in you. Ah! Oh, so close. So the idea is that I'm leveling up very fast, so I should be able to get the higher echelon Heartsteel people that I actually want to carry, because I mean, honestly, I don't think Aphelios is a bad carry, but I don't think I want to rely on him being a carry like last game. I think something different might be better. And just having more Heartsteel, I think Heartsteel later game, but like all of them is just a stronger comp in general. So that's what we're trying to do with the Clear Mind. I wish I got one more kill because I would be at 20 right now, but it's okay, whatever. Literally, they keep living with 1 HP. Maybe I might go Mosher with Heartsteel. I honestly don't know what I'm gonna go with Heartsteel. I'm just putting in Moshers right now because I can. Heartsteels? No? Oh, so sad. I think I'll get this, yeah. Oh. You see, because this is the thing where I can't buy any of those people. So I kind of just gotta suffer. Unless they sell a Mosher. I think that's better. I wish I could get that Aphelios. But I just can't. Not yet. Okay. We're gonna win, which is unfortunate. But at least he's losing that, at least. So it was gonna be hard to not win against him. And it didn't matter too much because we're about to reset anyways. The Heartstone case. So it doesn't matter too much. So we now have 5 hearts steel, so we might be able to do something with that. We're gonna get hearts a bit faster now. So we want to lose, but I think my board might be a little too strong still, especially against this board. Yeah, no, we're winning this one. That's so unfortunate, but I don't have a much weaker board, to be honest. Especially if I want to have all 5 hearts still in, I don't really have a much weaker board than this. But it's okay. We'll be level 6 after Krugs. Oh no, that's at the end of player combat. I think we'll still have it after Krugs though, because I think I'll just level it up. No, we won't actually. Never mind, I lied. Didn't really find anything. Since this is after player combat only, I can use this to like actually this round to keep some people on my bench. So that's why I rolled a little bit, but I didn't end up getting anything too good. Okay. Don't want to. That's fine, you're fine. Here, we'll just grab you to have you. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to sell these people. I won't have a clear mind, but I don't want to sell this. I don't want to sell. Oh well. Please, lose, please. Look, kill us. Like, you guys can easily kill. No! You really clutched it out, Aphelios? No, that was gonna be such a good loss. we're gonna do that and just see what that brings us. Okay. Enemy team. I think we lose. I think this is a good loss. I think we're gonna get a good. Could have killed one more. Could have killed her, but it's okay. It's okay. I need to get my econ back up again. It's kind of very pitiful econ right now. Periods. All I do is do 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 all I do is. Okay, I think we're gonna lose this one. Hopefully not too bad though. Kill him, possibly, question mark. It's always possible. No, okay. Couldn't stop. Try to force Heartsteel 2 times in a row. You know, you'd think you would learn your lesson, and yet here we are. Go down, up, at the ceiling fan. What is this? Interesting. How does Big Shot work? When they use their ability? Okay, interesting. This is gonna hurt. This is gonna hurt. Ah. Trying to readjust, but I don't know how. At the ceiling fan, everything is right up ceiling. At the ceiling fan, at the ceiling fan, at the ceiling fan. Ooh, ah. Okay, stay strong. Just till we can kill a little bit more. That wasn't strong enough. Well, nah, could be worse. Honestly, could be worse. I'll take that. Wow, what happened? Uh-oh. Okay, I think we're back. Oops, don't know what happened there. Ugh, a tear. I do not like tear. I guess I'm not against giving Yon an item, yeah. That was a win. That's something. I'll do this. Okay, well, I am curious to see how your target dummies launch themselves toward the largest clump of enemies and stun them for 2 seconds. Looks like that's going to be interesting. Oh, that disco ball. Bam! It's very comedic. We did it. So we're still win streaking, unfortunately, but it's not the worst, I guess. Especially because I wasn't gonna reach any bigger milestones here. Okay, now we're just focused on leveling up a little bit more. That's the whole goal. Whispers in my ear. Ooh, stunned. The crash test dummies are so funny. I think they actually do a lot. They provide so much value, actually. Give me Kiana, crowd diver. I just think it'll be funny, but we'll see how it works. Okay. Now we have 2 crowd. Now we have the crash test dummies that will dive in at the beginning of combat, and then when my Yone or Kiana die, they will also dive into combat stunning people. Okay. We got one crowd diver in. She about to dive in. Okay, we're still win streaking, but it's something. I don't think I want to I don't think I want to crowd dive that much, but it's very tempting to just get 4 crowd divers. Go, my test dummies. Please. Ooh, it's getting close. Okay, okay, it's just the Jinx. Easy. Constantly stunning the Jinx. Actually coming in clutch with that one, yeah. Yes, stun them all. Reforge that. Fine, won't give you that. We'll give Caitlyn that. Ugh, how dare they make Caitlyn that one? Okay, sell all of these peeps. Okay, we're getting there, we're getting there. And then we're gonna get those rewards next round. They're gonna be amazing, gonna be beautiful, 10 out of 10. We're just gonna go for it. We're just gonna go for it. Oh my gosh, there's a level 10? Oh my goodness. Oh god, okay. I did not account for a level 10. Get a Mosher. Put that on set. And we're gonna go from there. Okay. Okay. That works. Please, Ezreal. You got it. Clutch it. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. We now have a maestro. Okay, we have a lot going on now. And we just need to go from there. Still looking for a cane. Ooh, he's setting up his targets. Go, Jin, set them up. Your symphony. I don't even know what I want here. Let's get Jazz, I guess. Is Jazz like, do I need like a certain number of people for Jazz? I didn't see that many Jazz people. How many people? I need 2 people for Jazz. I don't got the Jazz. Okay, well that's that. That's that. Okay. Go. Just chaos incarnate. That's what I call this comp. What does Jazz do? Do we like Jazz? It's not bad. That was very risky, what I'm trying to do right now. Jazz! That was a very risky last minute change. I don't know how much it's gonna pay off, but I think it was a choice I made. Honestly, this comp was really strong. I don't know if I was gonna win anyway, so I don't think it was necessarily my choices that were poor. I think that was just gonna be a hard one to win no matter what. Okay, we're gonna replace Alawi. Okay, sorry, Alawi.
It is the end.
Maestro. Sure. Okay, we're gonna get that 2-star Lucian in there. And that's gonna do something, hopefully, maybe, possibly, who knows. Okay. We're getting somewhere. What do you do, Kane? I honestly don't know what you do. Dash, then deal 350 magic damage to all adjacent enemies and chill them for 3 seconds. Yeah, that doesn't seem to... What's Wildcard do? If you win player combat, Kane becomes the Shadow Assassin. If not, he becomes Rost. You receive a reward based on his form every time he kills 2 enemy champions. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. We'll see. Ever meant to be. Okay, keep going, keep going. Maestro. Goodbye. Figures. The only person I can hope for is a Kane or a better... Ugh. Okay, we're gonna lock shop for that 2-star Kane, but there's no one really to sell to get that, yeah. It's fine, it's fine. Okay, let's see how this goes. Ooh. Please. No, they're so strong. Oh my god. Let's just get the crowd diver and see. Okay. Yeah. Just something to have. But yeah, I don't think there's really a way for me to. Yeah, just move some people around. Try to do something different, but I don't think it's gonna matter too much. Okay, yeah, just keep crowd diving that dilution for something. Please, please, the stuns are, oh my god, the stuns work so well! He lives with 1 HP, that's annoying, that is very annoying, actually. Well, 40. I might be able to get to 90. Maybe I could get another crowd diver in there. Throw another crowd diver. Thank you, crowd divers. They're actually coming in clutch so well. Wait, do I win? Oh my gosh, please. Oh, no, 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 no. No, Jin, just keep attacking. Your symphony is so beautiful. Love that. First place, went from 8th to 1st, just like that. Too easy. Kind of. Don't ask too hard. Don't think about it too hard. Don't think about how we got there too hard. Okay, but I think that's gonna be it for today, though. I'm getting a little bit tired. I think the talking really wore me out, actually. So, where do we go from here? Let me think. Um, yeah, so thank you for joining by today's stream. It was my first just chatting stream, and then we played some team fight tactics. Before I get into anything else, let me just go over my stream schedule real quick because I always do that at the end of my streams. So, upcoming stream schedule. Let's look. So tomorrow I'm going to be playing some variety games. Most likely they're going to be a bunch of riot games. So the plan for tomorrow is try to play some more set 10 of Teamfight Tactics like I did today. Also play some League of Legends and then maybe some Legends of Runeterra. I'm not sure, but it's really going to be Teamfight Tactics and League of Legends. I asked a friend if he wanted to join me, and he said he might. So if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But it'll probably be the same thing tomorrow either way. Some League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics. So that's tomorrow. I plan to start at 3 p.m. CST, but that's pretty early, even especially for me. So that might be pushed back a little bit later, I'm going to be honest. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear. And then Sunday will be my break day. So I'm going to be taking a break. I haven't officially had a break since last Sunday, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, because Monday was Project Sekai, Tuesday was Mario and Genshin that was like 7 hours, oh my god. Wednesday was, what was Wednesday again? Oh, that was karaoke with Soren Angel, but I technically didn't stream that. That was all on his channel, so I technically didn't stream that day, so that was technically a break day, but it wasn't a break day, if you know what I mean. Then yesterday, we played Ace Attorney, and that was a shorter stream, but still a stream. And then today was obviously my Spongebob ramble and some Teamfight Tactics. And then tomorrow's gonna be League. So yeah, so this upcoming Sunday will be my first official break day in a week, and I think I really need it, to be honest. So that'll be nice for me. And then I'm also gonna have I'm also taking Monday off, so I'm gonna have 2 break days in a row, which I think I do kind of need, so that's okay. And then Tuesday I'm gonna be playing some more Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Hopefully we're gonna make some more progress with that, because I didn't get to play it too long this past week, because Genshin came out, so we're gonna do an actual dedicated stream to it. Then Wednesday we have Ace Attorney again. That might be tentative. I'm not completely sold on that yet, but so we're gonna look out for that one. Then next Thursday, I have a collab plan for that day, but still a little bit of a secret of who it's with and what we're gonna do. Because we still have to plan out some things, and also fun surprise for when my schedule comes out for next week. Then Friday, I actually plan to do a karaoke stream because I had a lot of fun doing the karaoke with my friend Soren, but I kind of want to do the karaoke on my own and also have a general theme for it. So those details are also being worked out for next week. It's just going to be a fun karaoke stream because I really enjoy singing, so nothing professional, but it's going to be a fun time. So be sure to look out for that. And then Saturday, I have another collab plan with another person, and those details are also yet to be worked out and will also be a surprise. And then Sunday will be more, probably more Riot games, to be honest. More League of Legends, more Teamfight Tactics, because I have a lot of fun playing those games. So that's a little preview into the rest of this week and next week, because I kind of have it planned out already, because on November 22nd. So that's not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. I'm going to be going on a 5-day break for Thanksgiving because I'm going to be going out of town, so I can't stream. So I'm really making sure that I have everything planned out. Till then, just so that, I know what my schedule is going to look like, and also so that I have some fun things planned up before I have to abandon and leave you guys. I apologize, I know. Curse me, right? And then that's the current plans, but tomorrow will be some Riot Games stuff, so some more League of Legends and Teamfight Tactics and shenanigans. With that, technically, so I'll do the speech now because I won't be streaming Monday, so I can't do it then. So I guess it's better now than never, right? Today's technically my 1 month anniversary of streaming. Because if you count the days, like if you count it by the day, it's been exactly 4 weeks because I started 4 Fridays ago on Friday the 13th. That VOD wasn't saved, so no one knows it exists except for me. But I technically streamed. That was the first time I ever streamed on Friday the 13th, 4 weeks ago. And so if you go by that, then it's been a month. But I go by the day. So I'm not going to say that my 1 month anniversary is in until the 13th of November, which will be this upcoming Monday. So technically it's my 1 month, but I don't see my 1 month until Monday. But since I'm streaming today and I'm not streaming Monday, I'll still do my little rants about, how it's been alright. I feel like a lot has happened in a month. Like, it does not feel like a month. I feel like I did a lot, and a lot of time has passed, but it does not like feel like it's been a month. I feel like I feel like I still just started streaming. Like the idea that I've been streaming for a whole month is not clicking. Like that does not make sense. It's already been a month. That's so fast. And I feel like I've already done a lot more than I ever thought I was gonna do, to be honest. Because when I started streaming as a VTuber, my goal was to just like get into a community because I've never like been a part of a community. Um, Online specifically, and so I wanted to do that. And I feel like I've met some cool people, I've done some cool things, and it really truly does feel like everything is still just starting. And I am a little nervous about what's to come. It's a little nerve-wracking not knowing exactly how things are gonna pan out, but I've just already experienced so many highs in just 1 month, and like with like not knowing what I'm doing or not knowing too many people, and I still feel like I've like met so many high moments already, that I'm also excited to see where it all goes. So that's my little spiel. So if you joined for a little bit, if you joined for a long time, if you were just lurking, if you chatted a lot, if you are watching the VOD or if you watch live, doesn't matter as long as you are seeing this, or if you watched for a little bit of the stream earlier or a little bit later in the middle. I very much appreciate it. It really motivates me to, really take this VTuber thing seriously. Not saying that I didn't take it seriously before, but when there's people that like watch you, it really kind of puts it into perspective, and it really puts everything to reality almost. Because when you're alone doing things, because I have created content before I started streaming a month ago, and it was like it was just filming, so I was all alone. But like when there's people live watching you and like talking to you and like chatting with you, it really makes it feel all real, and that part really excites me about streaming. And so I still plan on continuing, and I still plan on doing a lot more, and I'm very excited to see where it takes me. And so I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's ever interacted with me in this past month. I'll do like an official post about it on Twitter on Monday, but it's just a little peek, I guess, for people who are watching my stream. Thank you, and I hope that you'll stick around. I hope that like I don't rub you the wrong way for like if I'm too much or too little or whatever. I promise I'm always just being me, and I'm very excited to be me and to be able to express myself in this space. And so I hope that I'll be able to make more friends and grow my community and see where this all takes me. So thank you for sticking around, and I hope to see you in another stream. So whether it's the morning, the afternoon, or night, I hope you have a good rest of your day, or a good start to your day, or a good end of your day, and I wish you a good night. Bye bye. Hope to see you in the next stream. Bye bye.